or even if you have a more favorable police union in your state, here in New York, and especially where I live in Nassau County, the police unions are very powerful and they demand a tremendous amount of spending on themselves. And we can talk about that another time. But these lying governors and mayors who are saying they just want help from cops, they've never confronted the unions and told the cops, hey, we need to get more cops on the streets, get out of my way, and let's do this. They're not interested in that. And you're right. I think that this is why this is getting so frustrating. It's no longer a Bill Clinton world where President Trump can ask for a few $100 million in new funding for cops on the streets, because it's only going to be a little bit will be used. Not all of it will be used for cops, and it's just not worth it anymore. Finally, Veronica, there's something, again, I cannot ignore this. Every day I try to really focus on this race because I think this is a crucial race, the race for governor and lieutenant governor, but of course, governor, the marquee race in Virginia. And the latest poll, which came out yesterday, shows that Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat nominee, is only 5 points ahead of Winsome Earl-Sears. She was way ahead just a few weeks ago. And then the last three polls have been a 12-point lead, a 7-point lead, and now a 5-point lead. You can see where this is going. And by the way, Abigail Spanberger, like the Democrat who ran before her for this office, Terry McAuliffe, is in a serious bind because of the trans issue and the safety issue in the schools of Virginia. So the last thing Abigail Spanberger needed was like this Minneapolis shooting, where everyone is now paying extra attention to the trans issue and school safety. Are you focusing on this race as well? Because I think this is the key race in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I've lived in Virginia a couple of times, and I've been saying their logo is Virginia is for lovers. I'm saying Virginia is for winsome. So she's got to take this. Youngkin's done such a great job. Yesterday, they came out with an ad that Youngkin was supporting her, and he said that they've been shoulder to shoulder fighting this together, bringing jobs there, 250,000 jobs, trying to fight this education system. So winsome, she's my favorite Marine, Semper Fi always, and we've got to get her in there. And the last race when Youngkin won, it was only by 63,000 plus votes. So it's not that big of a margin. I think she can come ahead. Early voting opens there September 19th. So we need all Virginians to support this woman. These leftist agendas, they don't work. And to think that, children have had to share bathrooms with the opposite gender in Virginia. And then there's been the scandal with the abortions, with the Fairfax County driving girls to get abortions. It's out of control. And you have to have a strong governor that's leading the way. And that is winsome. She's been there with Youngkin side to side. So she's who we need. And I'm hoping that she can pull ahead. The only thing that's been a little strange in this race is that Trump says he's going to endorse her. Well, get on it, President Trump. Every time Trump endorses people, they win.
Yeah, and Spanberger is also going to make Virginia a sanctuary state, which will very much undermine the Trump administration's #1 agenda. Veronica Kemeny, the host of Veronica Live, thank you so much for joining us. It's Thursday, but I'm going to wish you a happy Labor Day weekend. Thank you again for joining me.
You too, Jake. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, of course, this terrible shooting took place in Minnesota, where Governor Tim Walz has a weird connection to the last two horrific incidents in that state. I will explain. And if Fed Governor Lisa Cook wants to fight her firing by President Trump in the courts, and she does, the White House has a suggestion for what she should do in the meantime. That story and more later this hour. This is American Sunrise Early Edition on Real America's Voice.
Messes happen every day in every way, but who wants to drag out a bulky vacuum? Introducing Horsepower Duck, a super compact vac with ultra-powerful suction. Watch as it effortlessly crushes this large bottle. This is a small but mighty duck, making it quick and easy to clean any mess. Just duck it up. The compact design can reach the tightest places. It's smaller than a water bottle, so store it in any drawer where it's always at your fingertips. Plus, it dumps out with ease, so it's ready to clean again.
I used to have to drag out this huge thing they call a portable vacuum cleaner. Now I keep the duck in my kitchen drawer and I clean up messes in 2 seconds.
The turbocharged motor is engineered to create a powerful vortex of suction, while the HEPA filter helps remove remove dust and allergens. We attach the duck to this tube, and the powerful suction lifts the water all the way to the top. Clean up that mess in the kitchen, the spill on the sofa, even sawdust and screws in the workshop. Plus, it's rechargeable. Got messy pets? Duck powerfully picks up pet hair from anywhere and cleans around that dish in a flash. You can even store it in your glove box for the ultimate car vac. Clean seats, the floor, and deep into those hard-to-reach places. Other bulky hand vacs sell for up to $150, but get the Horsepower Duck hand vac for just $39.99. Order right now and we'll upgrade you to the Duck Pro package, a $30 value, yours free. You get the bendable tube to get into tough spots like under appliances, the crevice nozzle to reach into those quacks and crevices, and the soft brush nozzle to vacuum gently with no scratches. You'll get the Duck with all the deluxe attachments, but supplies are limited, so there's a strict limit of 3 per order. This may be your last chance to get yours at this low price. So don't delay. Duck it up today.
To order, call 1-800-692-0144 or visit duckback.com. So call 1-800-692-0144 or visit duckback.com. Order now.
Of course, the live shot there at Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Annunciation Catholic Church and the adjoining school where the shooting took place yesterday. You can see people are already leaving flowers. Just a horrific incident yesterday. Of course, we're going to be focusing a lot of the angles on it today. And joining us now to talk about that is Real America's Voice contributor Emily Finn. And Emily, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz does not have the gift of good timing, to say the least. Here is what he said just 2 days before yesterday's terrible shooting in Minneapolis. Look at this.
Minnesota ranks the highest per capita for being a safe haven for transgender individuals in Minnesota. And can I just say, we can talk about economic growth and feeding children and growing the economy and creating jobs simultaneously with talking about everybody's human rights matters, and we shouldn't be demonizing them. You can do both.
You know, Emily, I'm not trying to demonize trans people. In fact, that's the point. I actually think people like us have a lot more compassion and interest in those people than politicians like Tim Walz, who are all okay with giving children drugs that are sketchy, surgeries that are sketchy. That's not helping them. They need a lot more than the equivalent of some kind of sanctuary city or some kind of sanctuary state where everything that's going on with them will be celebrated when they really are looking for, and I think needing, a lot more care. And again, especially for children. And this shooter, as we now know, according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, no right-wing newspaper, saying that he started getting these treatments as a minor. Emily, I just don't think these people actually care about these kids.
I really don't, because they would be not giving this kind of care to children. You should be waiting at least until they are of age, until they are 18 years old, and then they can make decisions with their lives at that point. But it's abusive when this is happening to people under the age of 18, when parents are, turning a blind eye, teachers turning a blind eye, politicians turning a blind eye. You sadly get situations like what we saw yesterday at Annunciation Catholic School. Absolutely horrible. I mean, the nickname Tampon Tim was, kind of funny during the campaign. But now you think about, yes, these are the kinds of policies that he did in public schools, in schools for children, to totally mess with their minds. I mean, it's confusing for young people who are completely able to be influenced at this time in their lives. I think Tim Walz should look in the mirror and really think about the impact his policies are having.
Yeah, now there's another problem for Tim Walz, and I know this feels like a million years ago. When I took a look at the date when this happened yesterday just to check my records, I couldn't believe how recent it was. But remember, it was just June, less than 3 months ago, where a couple of state lawmakers in Minnesota, if you remember, were killed. Someone came to the door and killed them. And that person, the shooter, by the way, is not dead. That person is in custody. And that person was, and again, not someone who was like a real close personal friend, at least we don't think so, of Tim Walz, but he was a political appointee of Tim Walz. And his wife used to be an intern for Tim Walz when he was a congressman in Washington, D.C. The point I want to make about this is not so much that I think Tim Walz is behind all of this, but this is indicative. Here you have the governor of the state, clearly the one man who represents it in many ways. Emily, you're too young to remember this, but they used to call Minnesota Minnesober because it was so chill. They had all the best rehab centers there. There was politics in the state, of course, but it was basically chill. It was pretty balanced. Yes, they voted usually with the Democrats, but not always. And the thing is, it was a chill state. Now it's the home of these kinds of shootings. Keith Ellison, the Islamist attorney general, Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, these kinds of shootings. This is what happens. These leftist politicians ruin everything.
They really do. Specifically, politicians like Tim Walz. That at the end of the day, does he really care about the people that he's with the policies that he's implementing and how it's changing their lives? Does he really care, or does he just want to continue to get attention and climb the ladder of political prominence? I mean, he was alongside Kamala Harris, tanked her campaign, and is now tanking the state of Minnesota. So hopefully the people there are able to wake up and vote out these horrible left-leaning politicians that are doing nothing but making their communities less safe.
Yeah, they really are ruining a chill state. I mean, chill literally, because it does get cold up there, but also chill in the way it handled, I think, issues. Very, very sad thing to see. Emily Finn, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, you can catch Emily in the next couple hours on American Sunrise. Don't forget to watch her there. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
If you're stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April deadline, or your books are a mess, do not wait. The IRS is cracking down. Penalties add up fast. 5% per month, up to 25% just for not filing. But there is help. Tax Network USA can take the burden off your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee, a small business owner, or haven't filed in years. Messy books? No problem. They've seen it all, and they know exactly how to clean it up. With direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side, Tax Network USA knows how to win. You'll get a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. More importantly, they'll help protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off. Let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. Coming up, I think we all need some comic relief right now. I know I do. And the great meme makers of social media have something just for us that I know you're going to like. Stay tuned for that when American Sunrise Early Edition comes right back.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It easily blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, soap, mildew, mold, and more. Forget harsh chemicals. With just plain water, Horsepower can clean bathroom tiles and tubs back to their original shine and luster. It's a game changer in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud. Take it outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. How strong is Horsepower? We took this distressed 100-year-old antique and restored it to like new with Horsepower. Amazing! Get your Ruby Horsepower scrubber today with bonus scouring sponge for just $39.99. Save on buying batteries. It's powered with the latest rechargeable technology. But wait, you'll also get this stainless steel brush to make range hoods and gas stoves look brand new again. Yours free. And we're not done. You'll get this Smart Flex cone brush that fits perfectly into corners, tiny crevices on toilets and tiles, or hard to reach shower door rails. Yours free. And to top it off, we'll include this microfiber cloth to clean delicate surfaces and polish cars sparkling clean. It's also free. Great news! Horsepower is now in stock and ready to ship, but due to high demand, there is a strict limit of 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-953-8622. That's 1-800-953-8622 or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-953-8622 now.
Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world.
Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. I'm Jake Novak. Special welcome to those of you on Getter and Rumble and on X who are watching and commenting. Live shot of the White House this morning, and the flags are at half-mast in honor of those victims in the Minneapolis shooting. Let's take a look at where the markets are going to open today. And you can see here, again, not much movement. Basically, kind of a wash. We're up on the Dow, down on the NASDAQ. Gold is up and pushing higher and higher, ever higher. Crude oil in a nice place there for us who don't want to pay much for gas, $63. And now let's take a look at Bitcoin, which continues to be in a new window of, I'd say, between 110, maybe 109. 109 and 115 is kind of where it's stuck right now. It's definitely a step down from that 125 high, but not that far down, of course, historically quite high. Well, again, everything was all about NVIDIA yesterday in the markets, and they're going to be talking about it a lot today. NVIDIA is the big AI chip chain. There's the chain there. There's the CEO, Jensen Huang. They reported good results. They beat the expectations for profits. They beat the expectations for revenues. But nitpicky investors were looking at one part of the business. This is the company's data center division, and its revenues and sales were a little bit weaker than they wanted. So NVIDIA shares are down about 2%, no big deal. If that weren't the case, though, we would be seeing really stronger, greener numbers on all the markets right now. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been better. But again, this market obsession with everything AI, I understand it because of all the money and all the potential for it. But the fact that it's all concentrated on NVIDIA really, it frustrates me. We have a big economy in this country with a lot of different things that people make and sell. Stop focusing on just the Fed and NVIDIA. It bothers me. All right, speaking of the Fed, while Fed Governor Lisa Cook fights her firing by President Trump, and you know the courts will be taking this one up for God knows how long, the Trump team thinks she should take a leave of absence while this is going on. Of course, that's another problem. It's one thing for these public officials. She's not going to take the leave of absence, spoiler alert. And I just want everyone to understand what's going on here with this issue, with the accusation of mortgage fraud. It looks like a heck of a lot of evidence of it. And by the way, she has not responded to that. She's just responded to the firing. She hasn't said, oh, I'm innocent of the mortgage fraud, which is very telling. That's bad. Now, look, folks, I can understand some public officials not loving the fact that they are being held very often to a higher standard than the rest of us. But here's the problem. These people are demanding that they be held to a lower standard than the rest of us. Look, you don't want to have your children watched or your family watched or everyone scrutinized. That's a discussion I am absolutely willing to have. But if you think that you can get away with crimes that somebody like me could never get away with just because you're an elected or an appointed official, no sale at all. And this is, I think, a great issue, one of the great discussions that we can have coming out of this issue. If someone is committing multiple acts of mortgage fraud, they get fired in every other part of the world. But somehow elected and appointed officials in D.C. think they deserve a pass. Okay, now for some comic relief. I promised it. Check out this new, or the part I'm going to show you, this new meme animation describing what went down at Cracker Barrel this past week. This is great. Watch it.
Calvin Klein said being morbidly obese was cool. Then Nike used a man in leggings to sell women's clothes. They must think we're fools. Go woke, go broke. That's what they say. Try selling folks what they don't want. You'll find there's hell to pay. If you ask me, you should keep your politics to yourself and we'll both have a better day.
You can watch the whole song. That was the great work of the folks at Based Creative. That's the name of the people who made that meme. You can watch the whole animation there if you look that up on your social media. Again, you can find it on my own feed on X, which is at JakeNY. I posted it yesterday, so you can scroll down and find it. Great work. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. This is Moving America, sponsored by Artillery Tea Company, artilleryteaco.com. Use promo code LIBERTY for 20% off your order. Artillery tea is all natural, whole leaf. The tea bags are chemical free and each tea bag can be used twice. Artillery Tea Company is a family and veteran-owned, operated, and a portion of your purchase goes to help veteran and first responder charities. artilleryteaco.com. Promo code LIBERTY for 20% off of your order. Check it out. Well, Tesla is doubling down on self-driving cars, the robo-taxis. GM is vowing to get back into self-driving, but Stellantis, not so much. They're going the other way. Just a couple of months ago, they showed off this video showing the Stella auto drive technology in this video, boasting about how you'll be able to catch up on your reading, maybe enjoy the scenery, as long as you're going under 40 miles an hour. They were talking about how great the auto drive is. Well, they're now ditching it. Not really giving a full explanation why. Again, this is Stellantis, which owns Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge. Here's the thing, though, and for those of you who agree with this, the thing is, it's Stellantis. So if they make a big decision, the chances that it's the wrong decision are pretty good. Sorry, not sorry. Again, I'm a big fan of self-driving technology for people, especially people who have disabilities, and end up having to rely on their cities and their states for transportation. And you know how well that goes. Self-driving cars where the disabled person is at least able to monitor what's going on, even if they're unable to do the actual driving, is a big way to unchain people who have been stranded in their homes for years. It's a big reason why I'm in favor of it. So I'm against this decision by Stellantis. I could be wrong, and you guys can blast me on Getter and Rumble if you think I'm wrong. That's your right to do. Okay, now it's time for What a Bargain here on Moving America. And today's bargain is out there for you if you're interested in a smaller or mid-sized crossover SUV. Here's the big news. The Ford Escape and the Lincoln Corsair. I just saw a Lincoln Corsair outside my house the other day. It's a sweet-looking car. They are being discontinued. They're not going to make them anymore after this year. And so the impetus to sell them and give you a discount is on right now at Ford. I'm seeing $7,000 cash back in some cases for the Ford Escape. I haven't seen all the incentives yet for the Lincoln Corsair, but they're going to be out there. So if you like the looks of these cars and you like and maybe your mechanic says it's good, go for it. Go to your dealer. You have leverage. I love when I give you an opportunity to have leverage at the dealer. You have leverage on these cars because they're going out. All right, now the latest evidence of some really bad warning signs on car debt. This is something that really concerns me. Edmunds says that 22.4% of new car buyers are committing to loans lasting 84 months or longer. That's 7 years, people. And negative equity. That's when people owe more on their car loan than the car is worth. That is now hitting 26.6% of all trade-ins. The average customer debt is reaching $6,700 now, more than that in this country. That is really, really alarming. And by the way, these longer loan terms are a great way for the car dealers to hide how much they are actually paying. They can hike the price. They can tell you, well, hey, it's still the same monthly payment. Yeah, but you're making that monthly payment for 2 or 3 years longer than you used to. This is a really scary situation. A lot of people defaulting on these loans, and it's not a good thing. Okay, love or hate EVs, and you know I don't like EVs, but some of them can go really fast, and you got to give them their credit for that. China's BYD has a race car called this is the real name of this car, I'm not kidding you. It's called the Yangwang U9 Track Edition. I didn't make it up, I promise. But it did just set a new world record for EVs with its 3,000 horsepower hypercar that hit 293.54 miles per hour. Wow, that breaks the previous record set by the Aspark Owl in 2024, which hit 272.6 miles per hour. Congratulations to all of you. Now, please find me a highway in New York where I can even go 30 miles an hour anywhere, anytime during rush hour. 300 miles an hour sounds great, but I can't even get to 30 on the Long Island Expressway, and those of you who live here know what I'm talking about. Okay, coming up, back to our top story. The Minneapolis shooting at a Catholic school yesterday. In addition to the trans angle, there's another common denominator among left-wing terrorists. It's called anti-Semitism, and it reared its head here again, too. We'll talk about it. And the U.S. should take a note from Australia and kick out the foreign agents working to fuel bigotry and hate, not only in Australia. Hey, they're doing it here, too. We have hate here, but this is imported hate making it worse. We'll discuss it when American Sunrise Early Edition comes right back.
You push it. You try to slide it. You even try to hold them shut. But your doors just won't stay closed no matter what. Introducing Ruby Monkey Magnets. Brand new ultra-thin magnetic plates that will keep your doors and drawers shut. And now may be your last chance to get them at a low price. Just peel to reveal the super strong adhesive. Place the monkey, then the magnet, and close. Installation is that simple, and now you have a door that will stay shut. So forget drawers that won't stay closed. Every drawer stays closed. It's so fast and so easy. Even large sliding doors or cordless window blinds. Everything stays closed with Monkey Magnets. The secret is the ultra-strong industrial magnet that's powerful attraction keeps your doors and drawers securely shut. These magnets are so strong they can hold this hammer that's nearly 5 pounds. Plus, they're super thin. They'll fit just about anywhere, and they stay out of sight. Even screw them in for a more permanent solution. Monkey Magnets are perfect for cabinets, dresser drawers, sliding closet doors, accordion doors, and more. They're made of ultra-durable metal, so even your outdoor problems are solved in an instant because they're corrosion and rust resistant. Use them anywhere outside the house, even on that stubborn mailbox that won't stay shut. Monkey Magnets can stick anywhere, from drywall to all types of wood frames, metal surfaces, and more. Call or go online now to get 8 sets of Monkey Magnets for only $9.99. Monkey Magnets are guaranteed to last 10 years or your money back. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Monkey Magnets at this low price. There is a strict limit of 1 full house pack per order while supplies last. So order now to keep all your doors and drawers shut tight with Monkey Magnets.
Call 1-800-519-4810. That's 1-800-519-4810. Call or visit getmonkeymagnets.com. So call 1-800-519-4810. Order now.
Yeah, here we come. It's Thursday, August 28th. Here are today's top stories. 2 children are dead and 17 others injured after a cowardly man fires into a Catholic school prayer service in Minneapolis. The shooter is dead of a self-inflicted gunshot. While the clueless Minneapolis police say they're looking for a motive, there's really no guesswork involved here. The killer had a lengthy online presence filled with hates and threats for Christians, Jews, President Trump, and more. Lots of red flags. In other news, the White House holds a key meeting on trying to end the Israel-Gaza war. The Trump administration is again blaming Hamas for extending the war, but Trump's lead Middle East envoy says some way, somehow, this war will end by the end of this year. And President Trump has just called out George Soros and his son Alex Soros for their clear involvement in fueling hate in America. And there are other foreign imports just as guilty, like Iran and China. And it's time the American people stopped importing their nonsense. American Sunrise Early Edition continues now. Yeah, that's just what we needed. More people coming from foreign countries to increase hatred and bigotry in America. By the way, it's an entire industry. We'll talk about it in just a second. Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. This is a Thursday. I'm Jake Novak. Thank you so much for joining us. Tough day today as we talk about that horrible incident in Minneapolis. But there's a lot to talk about, a lot to learn from it, because if you've been reading the mainstream media or listening to most of the politicians, you will not have learned the important lessons of this incident. And if we can't learn from this, then it's really just an act of violence with nothing other than the violence. Joining us to help us do that is Rabbi Yaakov Menken from the Coalition of Jewish Values. And Rabbi, are you surprised that this shooter in Minnesota had so much anti-Semitic rhetoric in his messages? Because in addition to his anti-Trump and anti-American and anti-Christian screeds, apparently he was a big fan of the Holocaust, wasn't he?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. And, sadly, that's really no surprise, because the way that it's not just about anti-Semitism, these are people who are anti-values. The fact that he thought it was an acceptable thing to go into a church and shoot up worshipers, including little children, you've got to be sick in the head. But it's not just a sick in the head, it's a real pathological hatred for God and the values that he brought into the world. Values like decency, values like morality, values like, well, thou shalt not kill. These are all things that he found to be enemies. And, obviously, he, Hamas, Hitler, they're all on that same page. And so they're genocidal towards Jews and towards anybody who believes in biblical values.
Rabbi, I really have to advance my strong theory that I've had since I was in college about what anti-Semitism really is, and I think that this incident proves it, and you just kind of voiced it as well. I don't think, at the end of the day, that anti-Semites really are that interested in the Jews at all. or even people who are anti-Christian, or what they're interested in is committing acts of violence. They are trying to commit a crime against God, because violence is a crime against God, and they're looking for the people that they can get away with doing it first. In other words, there'll be the weakest pushback in America from the establishment if you first attack the Jews, and then even the Christians, especially devout Christians. That's their goal: violence, mayhem. They're angry at God. They're trying to cause bloodshed. I don't really think they care who gets it at the end of the day. They're just looking for an excuse.
You know, the anger at God, I think that's really the root of it. They hate godliness. That's really, in fact, if you look in our biblical commentators, they say things like, like they would not hate us if we weren't worshiping God, if we weren't teaching morality, if we weren't trying to be a light that brings in, there's a better way to live than sacrifice your children to the gods. If not for that, they wouldn't hate us so much. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
because then, obviously, the barbarians who throw their kids to the lions and throw their enemies to the lions, those are people who are, they're basically on the same page. They're all good with that. Fine, kill each other. If a guy rubs you the wrong way, bump him off. That's the attitude.
Yeah, and I think they really love violence, even if it comes at them, by the way. All right, let's talk. Speaking of barbarians, let's talk about Hamas, because President Trump's Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff, again said yesterday that it is Hamas's fault, not only for beginning this war between Israel and Hamas, but also prolonging the war now, which, by the way, I think is the real goal now. They're not interested in really defeating Israel anymore. They just want to keep this going. But Witkoff said that the war will be over one way or the other by the end of this year. If you had to choose, Rabbi, which way would you like it to end?
Well, there really is no choice. The eradication of Hamas is the goal of any civilized person. And by the way, I mean, just to understand how bad the civilized world is doing right now, the Australians just wiped the entry visa for an Israeli politician. And one of their evidence of his hatefulness was that he was calling for the eradication of Hamas. That is an inversion of morality like you're not supposed to see in the Western world. Hamas, its existence is we seek genocide. They had genocide in their charter. They have genocide in their intent. In fact, Yahya Sinwar, shortly before he was killed, said, we're going to do October 7th again and again until we've eradicated all the Jews. It's that plain and simple, Jake. They're coming after you and me. They're not just going after Israelis. This is not a political dispute. It's time for people to realize that. We're dealing with anti-Semitism, plain and simple. These people are filled with hate. Hamas is the same as the shooter yesterday. It's just that they want to start with the Jews because the Jews are the nearby target. And by the way, the Jews got them first. When God brought morality into the world, he went through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and everybody knows that. So, Hamas knows that too. And they're out to kill the Jews first and then anybody else who holds to morality so that they can rule the world with impunity. That's who they are. And of course they have to be eradicated because they're simply a danger to every civilized person.
Yeah, then that's why we can't have these people of Gaza resettled into the United States, which is something that I know a lot of the viewers have been watching reports of that happening, and we're trying to stop that. You mentioned this poor decision by the Australian government to bar the Israeli politician, but believe it or not, Rabbi, they actually made a good decision, in my opinion, yesterday on another issue, although related. Australia has seen a tremendous spike in anti-Semitic violence over the last year or so. In fact, just a couple of months ago in Melbourne, a synagogue burned and Jews who were at a restaurant physically attacked. And Australia says that it's Iran that's behind this, that Iran has had a bunch of operations and operatives in that country stoking anti-Semitism, getting online, but also committing some of these acts. And so they kicked out the Iranian ambassador. Now, again, I don't want to give Australia too many kudos because, as you said, they're also making some bad decisions. But I want to talk about the lessons here in the United States. Rabbi, I'm not naive. I know we have bigotry and anti-Semitism here in this country, and we've always had it. I get it. But we have seen outsized levels of it in the last few years. And I wonder if you'd agree with my thought that I don't think this is organic to the United States. I think Iran, I think China, and I think Qatar are paying a lot of money to stoke the flames of bigotry and anti-Semitism in this country. And maybe we need to start kicking out some diplomats here.
I think open borders immigration has been a really bad decision for the United States. This idea that we're going to bring in Muslims who hate us, radicalized Muslims who are seeking violence, and once they get to here, they'll be interested in economic benefits, etc. People don't realize the power of religion. And when they decide as an article of faith that they want their kids to grow up to be quote unquote martyrs, to kill themselves in the course of killing others, as if that were some sort of political position or even godly position, that's a problem. That's a problem for the United States. You are right that it was the right decision, but think about Australia is the one that's been maintaining relationships with Iran. The reason why they're the only one kicking out the Iranian ambassador, the only one where the Iranians were able to have that evil influence on their home territory is because they invited the Iranians to be there. Every other civilized government has cut off diplomatic relations with Iran. That wouldn't happen in the United States because we don't allow the Iranian government to have an office here. Well, guess what? You get the same thing with all these other organizations that are going on, bringing in foreign actors. In Detroit, they're planning a quote-unquote People's Conference for Palestine. And the United States is now looking at the visas because there are so many people invited as speakers who are terrorists with blood on their hands as to frighten any decent human being. The point is that in the United States, you got the First Amendment to say what you want to say, but a civilized person should be acting with revulsion that there is such a conference where they're inviting terrorists, the United States, in the name of the so-called Palestinian cause, so they can demonize Jews, increase anti-Semitism, and yes, call for violence right here in the United States.
Yeah, I only have about 30 seconds left, but that conference is in Detroit this weekend, correct? And you're right, like the First Amendment protects Americans to say what they want to say, but it doesn't mean you have an organization that has a right to invite foreign terrorists to come and foment violence, correct?
Absolutely. That's foreign. That is support for a foreign terrorist organization. That is something that should have the organizers of the conference up on federal charges. But you should be revulsed to hear that somebody's attending that conference, participating in that conference. You know, the other part of the First Amendment is we have the right to call out bigotry when we see it. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. You've got an American hate conference going on in Detroit, and some dog that you know, including some corporation you support, is possibly supporting that conference. Got to think about it.
How about a tariff of 5,000% on any organization importing hating terrorists like this? So what if their plane ticket is at $500? Let's get them at 5 or 6 times that ticket on a tariff. Maybe that'll save things. I like tariffs. All right, Rabbi Yaakov Menken, thank you so much. You're from the Coalition for Jewish Values. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Coming up, David Brody and I will discuss and grade the news media's conduct as yesterday's school shooting played out. Mainstream news media dropped the ball again. American Sunrise Early Edition. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned to get a free automatic toilet bowl cleaner from Mermaid. Your sink stopper's broken, but fixing a drain is such a pain. Not anymore. Introducing Mermaid Drain Magic, the instant solution to most broken drains. Simply remove and replace. In just seconds, you can fill and drain with a simple press of a button. Drain Magic makes replacing your old, broken, rusty, even missing sink stoppers fast and easy.
Practically took me 5 seconds to replace. It absolutely made my sink look like brand new.
Honestly, I couldn't believe it. How could it work so well, look so good, and install so quickly.
And forget clogging, because Drain Magic's anti-clogging basket helps catch debris before it goes down the drain. When the basket's full, just discard. Helps prevent clogs in your sink by catching hair, food, even jewelry. Drain Magic uses a silicone gasket that creates a watertight seal without messy plumber's putty. Look, this sink was filled hours ago and the water still remains. Press the spring-loaded stopper and the water's gone. Made of brass and finished in high-quality chrome, Drain Magic is rust-resistant and built to last.
It's made out of metal, not plastic, and it actually has some weight to it. Yeah, this is the real deal.
Just looks like a new sink now.
Order your 2-in-1 drain solution, Mermaid Drain Magic, today for only $19.99. And with every order, you're going to get a Mermaid automatic toilet bowl cleaner absolutely free. Just drop it in the tank for up to 3 months of hands-free cleaning. Mermaid's ultra-concentrated formula cleans and deodorizes with every flush. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Mermaid Drain Magic at this incredibly low price with free Mermaid toilet bowl cleaner. There's a strict limit of 3. Call or click now to order.
Call 1-800-519-3206 or visit getdrainmagic.com. So call 1-800-519-3206 or visit getdrainmagic.com. Order now.
Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. That's a live look at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, where yesterday is the school adjoining that church where the shootings took place yesterday. An act of anti-Christian, anti-American hate by someone who was very demonstrably mentally ill for pretty much his entire life. And that's really the end of the story there, honestly. Hopefully the other end of the story will be that those who were injured in that shooting, 2 children died. Hopefully the other end of that story, but those who were injured will have a full recovery, both in body and in soul. Welcome back. So how did the legacy media do reporting on this story, for those of you who dipped into it? If you didn't, I did it for you. I did that hard work for you. You don't have to look at the other media sites, and I'll continue to do that. So stay with us here on Real America's Voice. But all kidding aside, I watched it. David Brody joins us now. I watched it on CNN. I watched it on MSNBC, and there's a couple of points I want to make. The first is, of course, they tried to make it about guns in this country. Guns are not the common denominator in violence in America. Mental illness is a much stronger common denominator. But the other point I want to make is that as soon as we found out that the shooter was not a Trump supporter, as soon as we found out that he was trans, as soon as we found out that he had anti-Semitic and anti-Christian screeds all over his social media or all over YouTube, you could see, David, you could see it. And you could feel it. It was palpable. You could see the air going out of the tires on MSNBC and CNN. They suddenly were losing interest. And my prediction is that within 6 or 7 or 8 hours, this will no longer be leading their news.
Sadly, you're right. Jake, and it's so perceptive of you to see that and decipher that. I went to the Washington Post this morning. I'm still in therapy afterwards, and I read their article literally from top to bottom. It's about, 55 or so paragraphs. And I looked for the transgender reference. There's no mention of the word transgender. The only time that they even kind of, quote, go there is the court records, the name change. And they do that in paragraph 35. 35 paragraphs into the story, they have 2 sentences on that. That's it. When it comes to guns, paragraph 7 is where guns start, and if you go through the entire article, it's about 10 to 12, roughly, paragraphs talking about how guns are just horrible. So there you go. Those are the receipts. You saw it on MSNBC and CNN and other places, and I'm looking at the Washington Post. This is what they do. Sadly, the mainstream media, the liberal media, they love to call themselves, compassionate, and they're looking out for you and all that. They give me a break. If you were really compassionate, you would be discussing the mental illness that we have going on in this country, specifically as it relates to gender dysphoria, really, which, where are all the stories about that, about the fact that it was a mental illness, now it's not considered a mental illness. I mean, they don't talk about that at all. Zero. I mean, if they're doing it, Jake, have you seen that? I have not seen that at all in their coverage, and it needs to be covered.
Yeah, I mean, again, and this idea that it's somehow compassionate. I mean, it's amazing. This is the old joke that I think it was Norm Macdonald, or it was one of the other comedians, the late Norm Macdonald, who said, after every huge terrorist attack committed by radical Islamists, the first thing that we should worry about is whether or not Americans are going to be angry at Muslims here in this country. No, that's not the first thing. We should be worried about the victims. We should be worried about stopping killers. Of course, that doesn't mean going after our neighbors, and Americans, for the most part, have not done that. And it's the same thing with this. Don't have hatred for trans people. We don't have it. We have compassion for them in a way that these leftists don't have.
Thank you. And I'm glad you said that, Jake, because, I think the natural inclination will be, it's another trans shooter, and do that storyline, which you can do. Don't get me wrong. There's facts behind that. But my heart this morning is about the compassion for folks that are going through gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is real. I mean, let's be clear, but it's manufactured. That's the problem. And the problem is that you've got liberals that are encouraging it and basically encouraging mental illness. There's a real problem. And my heart is full this morning with that.
Compassion is one thing. Celebrating mental illness is another. Anyway, we got American Sunrise next.
American Sunrise is a great way to start your morning. Join us Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got the news of the day and some compelling interviews that you don't want to miss. Here's what you missed from yesterday.
President Trump saying once again he wants to extend the D.C. crime crackdown longer than the initial 30 days. This, though, is something that really strikes a chord. And what's interesting about this is it strikes a chord even with those who might ordinarily oppose Trump doing this. Because those reporters, they're out there walking those streets every night. They know it's happened to people that they know. And that might make a little bit of difference, no?
That's right. I mean, when this first started going down, with President Trump announcing that this takeover, bringing in the National Guard, the knee-jerk reaction of the media, I think, wanted to be to condemn it. Mm-hmm. But then they start talking to their reporters, their anchors, and they're saying, well, you know what? I got robbed. I know a friend that got mugged. And it's very real. It brings it home. People were talking about not being able to walk the streets after 8 p.m.
Look, the U.S. is clearly offering Russia incentives here to get a peace deal with Ukraine. You wonder, though, if any of it is really going to work.
Putin, he sees himself as the czar. And as the czar, he feels his mission is to restore the Russian Empire. And he has made progress towards that in various ways. Georgia once was a republic. He, in 2008, took 2 territories away from Georgia, and he pretty much controls the ruling party right now in Georgia. He also doesn't like that Ukraine has been developing as a democracy. I was also over in Ukraine for the last elections they had as an official election observer. They were very proud. They had political parties, they had a free press, they were doing the election in a way that was free and fair. Putin doesn't want to see that across his border, doesn't want his people to see that.
We're seeing that President Trump and the vice president are going to be having lunch together there at the White House. Is President Trump's command of all of these issues because he is often meeting with cabinet secretaries and he's engaging with them on the issues that affect this country?
I think that's a huge part of it. I think that's really important. The fact that this president is no stranger to just getting on the phone, picking up the phone and contacting people across the administration to get answers, to talk about what they're working on, because, again, that's how he's able to directly communicate that to the American people. And that's why you see, as you saw in that cabinet meeting yesterday, he's so apprised of all of the goings on of his entire administration, because he is always up to date with what his cabinet secretaries are working on. And he has truly great relationships. I can testify personally. I see them in the West Wing quite frequently here, meeting with the president and discussing the latest issues.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can scan and hack your information without you even knowing. Worse yet, it's bulky and so disorganized. But not anymore, because Slim is in. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash truly protected. And now may be your last chance to get it for a low price. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from scanning your wallet and stealing your info.
Having your information stolen is a nightmare. But with Slim Mint, I know I'm protected.
With money clips, cash can easily fall out. But with the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. Then just press the button to release the lock. Slim Mint is ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to securely fit your additional cards and your extra cash. Even with everything you see here in the Slim Mint, it's still ultra thin. Bulky wallets are uncomfortable, but the Slim Mint is so compact it fits in any size pocket. Plus, it keeps everything easy to access.
Slim Mint holds everything from pictures to credit cards, my driver's license. Yeah, it's still so thin.
Say bye-bye to bent cards and damaged magnetic strips. Slim Mint keeps them protected. It's crush resistant and can really take a beating. Similar wallets sell for over $100. But call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. You still have time to get your very own Slim Mint wallets, but you must act fast. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-608-6630. That's 1-800-608-6630. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-608-6630 now.
Ahead on American Sunrise, the latest on the tragedy in Minneapolis. 2 children are dead, more than a dozen kids injured after a shooter opened fire at a mass in a Minnesota Catholic school. Court records show the gunman to be transgender. We're going to break all of this down. Plus, going after George Soros, President Trump says the mega influential billionaire uber liberal Democrat donor, that's a run-on sentence, and his son should be hit with racketeering charges for backing violent protests across the country. We have the latest. And beware of liberalism on college campuses. We know it's bad, but just how bad is it? We have details on a new shocking study, and it's all this morning on American Sunrise. We're going to start right now. Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrence.
And I'm Dr. Gina. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Gina. We are live with you from the Palm Beaches. Let's bring in David Brody. He's in Washington, D.C., and T. Bates in our Denver newsroom. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I wanted to be packing yesterday afternoon, but when I found out about the shootings, really almost right after the show, could not stop watching the news, trying to compare networks and how they were going to spin this or not, trying to figure out who was going to tell the truth about what is really happening in our culture, what is being done to our children, the money that's behind it, trying to see if they were going to tell the truth or if they were going to talk about guns, and just watching as these precious children come out of their church service at the beginning of the school year, innocence upon innocence. And I don't know, David Brody, it just the whole thing is heartbreaking to me because I feel like we are living a lie and our children are reaping the consequences.
Yeah, and we're going to unpack all of that today. You're not going to get it unpacked on CNN and MSNBC because the shooter is an alleged transgender person here. Well, again, right. My heart this morning is filled with compassion for those that are going through gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is real. And what I mean by that is that, you know, in essence, it's all very much manufactured that people start believing things that are just biblically inaccurate, which is there is man and woman. God knew exactly who you were. You were formed in the womb. You were meant to be a man. You were meant to be a woman. And so this idea that they're confused is real. That part's real. But just because you're confused doesn't mean that at, age 7 or 10 or 12 or 15, you need to inject yourself with puberty blockers and hormone therapy and all this type of stuff. So we will discuss that for sure. But Terrence, what really, if you think about it, the actual theme of the school year, believe it or not, was called A Future Filled with Hope. It was from the book of Jeremiah, and this is how they start off the school year. Just an absolute tragedy.
Yeah, 2 futures cut short as 2 of those children are dead. Dozens more injured. In fact, in all, about 17 other people hurt. Of those 17, 14 are children, and the others we're hearing are senior citizens. Again, all of this at the hands of an alleged transgender suspect. Here's what I find interesting. The FBI is now investigating this as potential domestic terrorism as well as a potential hate crime. It's something that we, of course, will be following throughout the day, and it's a story we'll be talking about over the next couple of hours. But Dr. Gina, I do believe that this is a perfect time to give the folks our Bible verse and to continue praying for those who are affected by this tragedy.
Yeah, today's Bible verse is from Psalm 4, verses 6 and 8. There are many who say, "Who will show us any good? Lord, lift up the light of your countenance upon us. You have put gladness in my heart, more than in the season that their grain and wine increased. I will both lie down in peace and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety." Amen. We are certainly sending out prayers to those mourning this morning in Minnesota, having endured, I'm sure, the longest day of their life. Also across America over the senseless violence and the rampage that took place against innocent children in a Catholic school. For more, let's bring in Pastor in North Carolina, Congressman Mark Harris. Congressman, welcome to the show. Your reaction to the tragic events in Minnesota yesterday.
Well, Dr. Gina, thank you so much for having me. And listen, it was an incredibly somber day. I think all of us were once again finding ourselves in shock, finding ourselves in the midst of another tragedy, of the taking of young lives in a school shooting. But this one, once again, I have to say, as soon as I started hearing the reports and it was there at the Catholic school in Minneapolis, my mind immediately went back to Nashville just a couple years ago. And that was before we even began to see all of the things that started coming out about the shooter. And it is a national tragedy that, honestly, just like you said in your opening, I began to look at some of the different coverages that were happening by the media and seeing what was going to be the conversation. And once it became apparent that the shooter was transgender or claimed some kind of transgender dysphoria, I think at that point, some of the networks just completely moved away from that and went full bore into the gun situation.
Yep.
And I think that we've got to recognize we've got a real issue in this country. And it was said yesterday, I'm not the first to say it, but I think it needs to be said that when we begin to try to affirm mental illness rather than treat it, people are going to get hurt. And that's where we come to in this country. Mental illness is a real thing. And I think that's where the conversation needs to begin and what we're doing with folks. We've seen situations right here in my own city of Charlotte just in the last week where a lady was stabbed to death from Ukraine, fled Ukraine due to the war, was here as a refugee, and she gets stabbed to death by a homeless individual who had been arrested 17 times on various other charges. So we've got a serious crime issue in this country. We've got a serious issue on what really the conversation needs to be. And I think maybe this is going to bring it to light, and we've got to have it, just like we should have had it 2 years ago in Nashville, and it seemed that manifesto got hidden because of what it exposed.
Yeah, and Congressman, I'd like you to kind of speak to this part of it. The media loves to demonize folks that bring this up. We're bringing it up. We're not talking about transgenderism or let's go to gender dysphoria and say that these people are crazy and we're really upset at them. We're not upset at that. This is mental illness. We want to help them. They need Jesus. And so you have the DSM-5 that had originally come out and called it a mental illness. Now they're backtracking, saying it's not a mental illness. They're trying to play footsie and cutesy with the words here. But the truth of the matter is, regarding the DSM-5, they say that gender dysphoria can be detected within 6 months. Well, I mean, Gina, maybe you can speak to this, but clinically, I'm told that it takes at least a year, many times much longer, to diagnose something, some sort of mental illness. So this idea that you can just decide it in 6 months is ridiculous.
Agreed. And I think, again, we need to have the conversation. You've seen that kind of research. And again, to your point, I think people who were willing to have the conversation, look at what we're really dealing with here, understand that it is mental illness, and begin to move toward treatment rather than trying to affirm it. And again, these become critical issues that the public is being affected by. I mean, when you start going on all these puberty blockers, and again, more information will come out on this shooter, I guess, as to what actually drugs were being used or if there were any or what. But again, it's becoming more and more scientific that these lead to violent behavior and create real issues in human beings.
Congressman, I'd like to tap into your expertise as a pastor. The fact that this attack happened inside of a sanctuary, a church sanctuary, as Mass was being performed, a place that should be a refuge, a place of peace. It, of course, brings to mind concerns of attacks on Christianity, attacks on people of faith. At this point, the FBI is said to be looking into that potential angle. Can you speak to that from a broader sense here in our country, the attack on people of faith, the attack on faith in general in this country?
Well, there's no question, honestly, from my perspective, at the heart of this issue is spiritual warfare. And I mean, the fact that he shot through these stained glass windows, I know a lot of times when it was reported, I'll reference back to Nashville a couple of years ago, the shooter went in to the sanctuary and just began to shoot out the stained glass windows, which actually told the story of the life of Christ. And so this is a spiritual battle that we're dealing with here, real spiritual warfare. And I think that is, again, something that within the body of Christ, we have to be aware of. I think probably every Christian school in America is having conversations today about what we need to do to make our places safer for not only our Christian schools, but for our churches on Sunday. I know churches over the last several years have really moved in the area of security, bringing people in that are providing that kind of security for Sunday worship so that folks feel comfortable when they go there, that they know they're going to be safe.
It's so hard to even know, honestly, where to dig in on this. I mean, certainly the attack on Christians. My friend that drove me to work this morning said, as I was getting out of the car, the most dangerous place to be right now is sitting in a church. We saw some of the horrendous, if you looked at any of the videos or his journals or his manifesto, the killer I'm speaking about, we saw horrible slurs on all sorts of races and religions. This was a person who was literally screaming for help. And apparently some of this was up on his social media for 3 days. And there were no reports. That's terrifying. The other side of this that's terrifying is the money that's behind propagating such a tragedy on our children. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to maintain transitioned surgery. So there's a lot. Let's not for 1 minute forget about the money that's behind all of this. As we pray, really that's all we can do because there's just so much to break down on all of this. But as we pray about this, can you just, in the last 30 seconds remaining on this block, can you, Congressman, just tell us how to pray?
Well, I think right now we need to pray that believers will first of all understand we cannot operate with a spirit of fear, but God has given us a sound mind, and we need to recognize that, and we need to understand that. We can't live in fear. We can't avoid going to church. We can't avoid those kind of things. The Lord is going to continue to work through the situation. We need to pray for honest conversation about this issue. We need to, that we've talked about this morning, We need to talk about securing our churches, securing our Christian schools to make sure that we're doing the safest things we can do to protect our people. But at the end of the day, we've got to pray and ask the Lord to send a great awakening in this nation. That's the greatest need, because until we have a great awakening and hearts and minds are turned back to Him, we're going to continue to see tragedy after tragedy like this. And I just think it's time that we get serious about praying for that great movement of God again.
Yeah, pray and take action. I never thought I'd see a day where I said maybe the best action you can take for your church these days is to go get tactically trained and then be sure you're packing when you're there for security purposes. Congressman Mark Harris, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Congressman.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, we have more reaction from the tragic shooting in Minnesota. And later, our border remains in crisis with cartels raking in billions of dollars and communities left to deal with the fallout. Real America's Voice correspondent Ben Berquam is on the ground there. We're going to bring you there as American Sunrise continues.
Thinking about Medicare? Think AMAC. Medicare can be complicated, but AMAC makes it simple. Our licensed agents provide free, unbiased guidance to help you find the plan that best suits your needs. But that's not all AMAC has to offer. AMAC is America's leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization, guided by the principles of faith, family, and freedom. So when it comes to Medicare and so much more, think AMAC.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing? If you've written a book, Page Publishing can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, we get you printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple iTunes, and in bookstores across the country. We'll even help you promote your book. That's right, we do all this for you. Biography, self-help, mystery, novels, sci-fi, even a children's book. No matter what genre, Page Publishing can bring your book to life. Call today for your free author submission kit and find out how you can be the next published author at Page Publishing.
Call for your free writer's guide, 800-319-0257. That's 800-319-0257, 800-319-0257, or scan the QR code now.
Do you suffer in pain? Are you stiff, tense, or less active? Introducing the Easy Well Remedy Massage System, a triple fusion of therapeutic experiences. Full body vibrational therapy increases blood circulation and reduces inflammation. Infrared heat penetrates deep to reduce pain, soothe, and relax. The Ultra Shiatsu pillow with 6 heated nodes mimics a professional massage. Plus, it's detachable for deep relief anywhere you need it. Experience the true remedy for your pain and stiffness. Call now.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Absolutely heartbreaking scenes in Minneapolis yesterday after that shooting at the church/school there in Minneapolis, the Catholic school. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. I'm David Brody. I can't even imagine. I mean, I've got 2 granddaughters, and ages 6 and almost 3, and you know, it's. Let's pray for folks, for sure. We've got more on this in a moment. As a matter of fact, right now, and of course, it is sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Here's the bottom line on that shooting there in Minneapolis. At least 2 children dead, 17 others, including 14 kids, injured after that shooter opened fire during Mass at that Catholic school in Minneapolis. The shooter reportedly identifies as transgender and had a name change in 2019. The suspect identified as Robin Westman. He was born Robert Westman. The FBI reportedly investigating the attack as domestic terrorism and a hate crime. Let's bring in Director of Priests for Life now, Father Frank Pavone. Father Pavone, in the break, you said this redefines the armor of God, the whole armor of God. The shield of faith, of course, not just repelling those fiery darts of the wicked, now also repelling bullets. And what I find interesting is that now we're having a conversation about bringing guns and arming our priests, because that's just where we are as a society.
Well, that's where we are. You know, God loves us not just in our soul, but in our body. When we talk about the protection that we implore from God every day in our prayers, it's physical as well as spiritual. And we know our rights in a land of the free. You know, we know our rights to defend ourselves and our Second Amendment. Let's use it. I mean, the other side is irrational. You know, people try to make sense of a thing like this. There is no sense to be made of it, because that's precisely the point. Evil and violence are irrational, and but as they continue to do these things, we continue to do what we need to do to protect one another.
And you know, we often, as men of faith, go back to, we pray our way through it. And while that's still got to be a part of it, it seems to me at this point there's got to be action as well.
There does. And without fear, without apology, without letting the other side try to shame us into anything. And of course, you can... we sit back yesterday and think about this. You know, children are being killed. And for someone like me who works full time in the pro-life arena, I sit back and I think children were killed today. And then I think, yeah, that's exactly what my work is all about, trying to stop. We're killing thousands of children a day, and we're so sanitized to it. I think back 31 years ago, Mother Teresa, whom I had the privilege of knowing, spoke in Washington at the National Prayer Breakfast. And remember what she said there? She posed a question to America. She said, if we say that a mother can kill her own child, how can we tell other people not to kill each other? Now, in a response to something like this, our primary response is concern for the victims. Our hearts go out to the families. It doesn't matter what their belief system is, what their ideology, political platforms, that goes out the window. We care about these people. Then we have to step back, and if we start thinking about how did we get into a situation like this, if we don't take account of the fact that we're killing thousands of children a day and we're justifying it legally, well, then we're missing a big piece of the puzzle. When are we going to realize that children are children from the beginning and they deserve protection? Period. Amen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And you can't tolerate one kind of violence against some children and then jump up and down and protest violence when it breaks out against other children in other ways. We've got to reject the whole thing altogether.
And you've got to accept the man or the being that gave us all life, which would be Jesus Christ and our Lord and Savior. Thank you so much, Pastor. I didn't mean to preach with you. You are the one that actually should be preaching, but I just wanted to add that as well. Pastor Frank Pavone, we appreciate your time.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Always good to see you, my friend. We've got more American Sunrise coming your way after this break.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching, even moving better.
Nature's Blend works because it's freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, they all get right into your dog's body.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
For a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV.
Day 37 on the Ark. The sheep? They're great. The lions? Hungry. When you're facing a disaster of biblical proportions, you need a lot of food. Because when the Great Flood comes, or storms, power outages, whatever, you're either prepared or you're not.
All right, check this out. 4-week survival food kits. Mac and cheese that's good for 25 years.
I told you guys it was good. Buy one 4-week survival food kit, we'll send you 2. Go to 4patriots.com.
This right here is confidence in a bottle. It makes me feel so much more confident than I've ever felt
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real, and I'm so excited. We even have a video, and all he uses is a small amount on a clean, dry face. And what it does is it tightens and lifts the appearance of bags underneath your eyes. And I did this to my father. We were at home, so we applied it to his under eye bags, and let me tell you, we were so excited. In under 10 minutes, they visibly disappeared from view, and now it is literally part of both of our daily routines. And not only does it work on the bags, it works on the appearance of crow's feet, fine lines, and wrinkles.
At our $14.95 price, it's the best way to try Plexaderm and see it work after your first application. Call the number on your screen.
Call 1-854-0295.
A live look at the White House, where the flag is flying at half-staff this morning in memory of the lives lost there at that Minneapolis Catholic school following Wednesday's shooting. We, of course, will be talking about that throughout the day. Right now, though, we do want to get you a quick check of the national forecast from our friends over at the Weather Nation.
Thanks, Terrence. We're tracking a couple of cold fronts as we head into this last unofficial weekend of summer. A lot of 70s and 80s on the board today. New York City 75, Chicago 75, Dallas still in the 90s, however, along with Houston. But we are tracking a cold front digging through the southern plains that will help to drop some of those temperatures. Areas like Little Rock and Wichita already down 15 to 20 degrees compared to average. Some severe storms are going to be possible out towards Colorado, the Red River Valley of Texas into Oklahoma today. Those threats will stick around the Front Range tomorrow, while they also drop towards the Gulf Coast, where we could be seeing some heavy rainfall and severe storms as we follow these two frontal systems getting closer to Thursday evening and Friday morning. It's still going to be watching some heavy showers out there across the Northeast and down towards the southern Gulf. But by the time we get to Saturday, the cooler reinforcing air arrives in areas like New York, Chicago, even Dallas, down to 85 degrees. And one last thing to watch as we head into this long Labor Day weekend, we have a new area in the Atlantic to monitor. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's send things over to David Brody. David, good morning.
Good morning, Terrence. Appreciate it. All right, Rav's own Ben Berquam recently had the chance to tag along on an ICE operation in San Antonio. Take a look at this.
So out here with ICE ERO, about to hit a criminal warrant. We've got the Bearcat lined up. And as I said before, right, executed, no injuries, no issues, no scandals. The director, so the first house, successful operation so far. Looks like we've got several individuals.
Wowzer. For more, let's bring in Rav correspondent and the host of Law and Border. That would be, of course, Ben Berquam joining us live from San Antonio. Ben, my goodness, you're right in the thick of it. Tell us your impressions. Give it. Wow. Great stuff, sir.
Yeah, we just finished that operation yesterday morning. It was targeted for one criminal felon illegal in that house. We went in with the Bearcat, and the SWAT team entered with flashbangs to distract them, and we ended up pulling out 5 illegals, actually 6 total, 1 minor, 5 others, including the suspect, as well as 2 others that had felony criminal warrants. So a very successful day, but it just shows you this is one house in one city across America. And just tying back to everything we've been talking about this morning, you know, while the Democrats for 4 years were focused on allowing an invasion into our country, on basically increasing the number of mentally ill, transgender, all of that, coddling that mind mental illness, that, you know, right down the street from where we are is Uvalde. We were allowing our country to be invaded. And so you think about the dichotomy of what the Democrats promoted, what they prioritized, rather than protecting our kids, rather than protecting our communities, rather than securing our border, they did the exact opposite. And now this administration, President Trump, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, all of these ICE agents are having to go back in and take care of these really bad guys that are here, on top of all the other issues that we have as a nation.
Yeah. You know, the liberals love to make a big deal about masked ICE agents, masked agents. I was trying to see in that video, were some of them masked? Were some of them not masked? And where do they stand on that? Like, are they just like, give me a break on that type of stuff? What's the deal?
Yeah, some of them are, some of them aren't. We blur their faces for their own protection. Some of them, this is ongoing investigations. Now, typically, we don't blur the illegals' faces, but in this case, there was one minor that came out of the house, and the other is the main suspect in this criminal warrant, and so we don't want to screw up the investigation. But as far as the agents go, the reason that some of them cover their faces is because these same leftist activists that invited the invasion into our country, that are out there protesting and rioting across our cities, are doxing them and their families and threatening them and their families. And so these guys they're American heroes that go out every single day, put their lives on the line. They don't know if they go into that house, if they're going to be shot at. They don't know if they're going to go home to their families. But one thing they do want to make sure is when they do go home to their families, they don't have some deranged transgender lunatic there to shoot and kill their families. And that's what we have going on right now. We have the left who is taking their photos, who is taking their identities and is doxing them, sending it out to the world, trying to threaten them, trying to get them attacked. So some of them choose to cover their faces. God bless them. And anyone who decides to attack ICE, to go after them, to dox them, should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, not that we want to reveal sources and methods for ICE to the whole world and any of that, but I am curious as to exactly how they kind of go about and pinpoint some of these folks. Like, where's the cooperation? Is that just local law enforcement that they're getting help with, or is it more than that?
Great question. Yeah, great question. In particular, the difference between what we see here in San Antonio and some of my rides in D.C. and in Chicago and New York, those sanctuary cities, it's so hard to get intel because there's a lack of cooperation. Here in Texas, the cooperation runs all the way down to municipal levels. The only city, there's a couple cities that are quasi-sanctuary, Austin and Houston, but the cooperation between law enforcement and ICE across the state is really unmatched other than Florida. So that when you go for a ride with these guys, when you're talking about intel, the reason actually this guy had a felony warrant that we went after was because Texas DPS, he had already been deported 3 times. Texas DPS found him. He ran from Texas DPS. They got in touch with ICE. There was a joint investigation. The operation yesterday was a joint operation. You had Texas DPS, you had local law enforcement, and ICE, ERO, and HSI working on the case. So it is that cooperation between all these branches. We've seen that across America. That's the big difference between President Trump's approach, Tom Homan's approach, is this all-of-government approach where you have local, state, and federal, all the partners. You got FBI, DEA, all of the federal partners that are working together to go after this problem. And that's the only way. When I interviewed the director here in San Antonio, that was his answer. He said, the only way we're going to solve this problem, it's such a huge mountain to climb, is with all of our partners working together. And that only works in non-sanctuary jurisdictions. That's why it's so critical that we start prosecuting some of these sanctuary jurisdictions that are hindering the efforts of ICE to do their jobs.
Yeah, wow, for sure. Hey, Ben, thanks for bringing the truth to our audience. CNN will not be calling you, just an FYI, but I don't think that. I think you knew that.
My phone's on, guys. My phone's on. I'm happy to come on and spread the truth over there, too, if they ever want it.
Ben Berquam's open invitation to CNN. You heard it here first. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
Hey,
be well,
thanks,
my
David.
friend. All right, the smiling patriot, as I like to call him. Coming up, could headphones soon be a thing of the past? A new development could soon make that a reality. We have those details next on American Sunrise.
Thinking about long-term care? Think AMAC. Rosemark Advisors, the financial division of AMAC, specializes in alternative solutions for long-term care planning. We help AMAC members prepare for future healthcare needs without compromising their retirement goals or financial security. But that's not all AMAC has to offer. AMAC is America's leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization. So when it comes to long-term care and so much more, think AMAC.
A heart attack? Do they have life insurance?
No.
But we have life insurance. John.
I'm trying to find something we can afford.
Fortunately, in only a few minutes, SelectQuote found John a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Anne a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month. Go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs
at a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Don't you hate that dirty old hose? It kinks, splits, and it always leaks. And it's way too heavy to carry around. It's time to get the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead. Just turn on the water and watch it grow to a full-size hose. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the new Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees. Just connect to the spigot and watch it pivot. And when you turn off the water, away it goes, shrinking back to a pocket-size hose. And it makes it easy to carry and put away. Call or go online now to get the super light 25-foot Pocket Hose Copperhead today for only $29.99. Order right now and get our 10-pattern thumb drive spray nozzle free. Simply use your thumb to turn it on or off. There is a strict limit of 3 per order, so don't wait. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-956-8517 or visit getcopperhead.com. So call 1-800-956-8517 or visit getcopperhead.com. Order now.
Well, the flags are at half-mast. As you can see, President Trump ordered that to happen sometime yesterday afternoon, of course, in relationship to the Minnesota church shootings. Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. Gina. Thank you for joining us. Time now for today's health news. It is sponsored by the Wellness Company. And under the microscope today, headphones may be a thing of the past. My kids and I argue about headphones all the time. I always say, don't talk on your phone. Of course, instead of going like this, now you know Gen Z goes like this, right? Because they don't know why would a phone be like this? Because that's what we old people did, right? But also using the Bluetooth headphones, man, the data out there on how dangerous those are is something we've talked about a lot on this show. But soon, none of this may matter. Researchers at Penn State have created audible enclaves. These are sound waves that travel in a precise beam straight to your ears. It means that you can hear your music or your call without anyone else hearing it. No wires, no earbuds, no headphones at all, just a personal sound bubble. I know, it sounds crazy. I don't even understand how it works, and I don't know if it'll be any safer than the Bluetooth headphones are, but perhaps without some sort of radiation, maybe so, maybe so. It'll be interesting to see. We'll be watching all of this new technology because there's a new administration in Washington, D.C., and they've brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. But there's only so much government can do, and that's why if we really want to make America healthy again, it's going to start at home with us, and that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from their doctors all the time on this network, and you know that their products are the gold standard for keeping your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to be sure you're prepared, though, for whatever happens with their series of prescription medical kits. These kits have an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to tell you how to use the medicines in the kit. Also, Wellness Company offers a variety of products from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more. These can help you stay healthy and live a longer, more satisfying life. Make America healthy again starts at home, you guys. Do your part, protect the health of yourself and your family. Go to twc.health/RAV. Give it an order. That's twc.health/RAV. Use the promo code RAV. That'll save you 10%, David. 10%.
Damn it, you're so hip and cool.
Yeah, tell my kids say that to me every day, or else they say just the opposite. They call me a boomer. I'm like, my mom was a boomer. I can't be a boomer. This can't happen. I'm Gen X.
You are Gen X.
I'm Gen X.
I was born in 1965.
I'm hanging in there.
So that's Gen X. I know. We're there, though. We are Gen. Don't call us boomers. That's like 1946 to 64. Okay. Anyhow, I guess
don't tell all of our secrets, David.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay, go to Wikipedia. Oh, maybe don't. All right. Don't do that, please. Now over to our nation's colleges and universities. A new study shows a whopping 90% of college students at Northwestern University and the University of Michigan say they are faking more progressive views to just get by socially and academically. The students said they wanted to appease their professors. The researchers blame the climate on ideological conformity to suppress authentic expression. Yada, 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 as Seinfeld would say. For more, let's bring in political commentator, best-selling author, and host of the Brylan Hollihan Show. That'd be Brylan Hollihan because it's called the Brylan Hollihan Show, so it must make sense. Hey, Brylan, so we know you're not doing what those students are doing at those universities. You're doing the polar opposite, but you're a freshman now at Auburn. I wonder what your take is on all of this. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, David. Happy Friday Eve. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you and your incredible show this morning. You're right. I just finished my first week here of college at Auburn University, and I got to tell you, we're seeing this sweep across the nation. Unfortunately, a lot of my peers feel afraid to be able to speak out and use their First Amendment right to share that they're a proud, bold conservative. We see it time and time again. I got to tell you, one of the larger crowds we had when I spoke on college campuses was when I called into Harvard University, and a packed auditorium met me twice. We did it before the election and right after the election to react to it. And I remember checking with my team afterwards, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Did I see that right? That Harvard University had a packed room for us? And they said, yeah, there's actually more conservatives there than you would think. They're just too afraid in today's modern age to speak out about it. That's a problem. We live in a country where, unfortunately, the left seeped into the education system in the 60s and 70s, and what we're seeing today is a byproduct of that. We're seeing activists in teachers' clothing terrify my peers into switching their ideology to be more liberal when they turn in papers because they're terrified that their blue-haired, nose-ring professor is going to grade it bad if they come out saying abortion is murder. Unfortunately, we've got to push back against that, David.
Well, Brylan, I'm going to resist the very strong temptation to say anything like roll tide or anything like that, and I'm just going to move on to, here's where you're really blessed, because it does seem like a ridiculous thing that students have to put up with this, but here's where you're really blessed. I did grad school circa 20 years ago at St. Louis University, and we were told, don't talk about your politics. That essentially meant roll over and agree with whatever the professors tell you you believe, and what the social justice posters hanging in your hallway tell you you should believe. I had my master's degree, my first master's degree, held from me, despite the fact that I was a top student, absolute top student, top grades in my program there. And my pastor finally said to me, Brylan, this is what I want you to do. Go apply for your master's degree and PhD at some school somewhere where no one's ever heard of you, and in a different town, because my husband was a very prominent politician in that town, so everyone knew my politics. So I went all the way to California to go to school from Missouri. And did not tell them. I played the game. That's what I'm saying. I played the game because my pastor told me, whatever sins you incur by lying about what you believe all the way through grad school, I will take for you so that you can go get your PhD and fight for our Christian values. So I gave my testimony at my graduation after not exposing who I was or what I believed for all of those years while I got my master's degree and PhD in California. If you can believe that story, we didn't have a student organization to support us. You couldn't even say, if you even said what you believed, you would have been exposed, right? And humiliated by the entire school. I had like I said, my first master's degree actually withheld from me because someone figured out who my husband was. So this is the kind of thing that you don't have to deal with anymore. Do you feel that momentum growing, Brylan?
Absolutely, day by day, and War Eagle to you, Dr. Gina. I'll say as we get to college campuses and we see this growth continuing to happen, I'm reminded of about a year ago, last summer, when we were in Milwaukee with President Trump for the convention. Our team at the RNC were putting together some themes for each night. So every speech was make America safe again, make America powerful again, different themes. The idea that I pitched, and we didn't end up using it, was make America talk again. My generation grew up in a day and age where it was so taboo to talk about politics and faith at the dinner table. And unfortunately, the byproduct of that today is that we don't know how to talk about those things. We can scream at each other, we can grab a bullhorn, we can protest on the college campus, but we don't know how to sit down at the lunch table and talk about our differing ideas. When we get back to that, when we talk about what you just mentioned there, of being able to sit across the table and have a civil discourse conversation where we can still leave that table disagreeing, but hey, guess what? We had a conversation. And right now we're not even talking to each other. Make America talk again is super important.
It really is. I hope President Trump is listening, because I think that's a great message that we should bring forward. No, it really is. And that's what Donald Trump has set an example for us in doing. He is out there saying, he's modeled for us that when you talk and you're just who you really are, you're just authentic, you're just honest, right, with the American public, we can come to some great consensus. Brylan Hollyhead, we don't need to agree on everything. We don't need to. You and I'm sure don't. It's probably close, though. Probably really close. Brylan, thanks for being with us, and you keep on keeping on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too.
All right, coming up, former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio could be waking up when it comes to dealing with crime. What was his message, though, to Democrats? We're going to have his comments next on American Sunrise.
How does the world's most trusted dog expert keep his own dog so healthy?
Hi, I am Cesar Milan. In my 20 years rehabilitating dogs, I've seen too many struggle with health problems that no amount of training could fix. Then I discovered it wasn't the dog, it was their food. Fortunately, I found veterinarian Dr. Marty's Anti-Kibble Breakthrough.
Nature's Blend is packed with whole foods that are freeze-dried, locking in nutrients.
I saw remarkable improvements in my dogs within weeks.
Try Dr. Marty risk-free for 90 days. Plus, get a free gift when you call or visit drmartypets.com/Caesar.
Kevin paid off over $12,000 in credit card debt with the help of Consolidated Credit. They cut his interest rates and lowered his payments so he could pay off his debt fast. Call 800-596-8062 for a free consultation.
Do you suffer in pain? Are you stiff, tense, or less active than before? Introducing the EasyWell Remedy Massage System that combines the incredible effects of vibrational therapy, targeted deep tissue shiatsu massage, plus soothing infrared heat. A triple fusion of therapeutic experiences. Full body vibrational therapy increases blood circulation and reduces inflammation. Look at these beads moving from the powerful vibrational motors.
It's like 1,000 little fingers just vibrating my body from head to toe.
Infrared heat penetrates deep to reduce pain, soothe, and relax.
Remedy gets in there and helps deal with the source of the pain, so you feel much better.
The Ultra Shiatsu pillow with 6 infrared heated nodes mimics a professional massage. Plus, it's detachable for deep relief anywhere you need it.
It's just something that you're gonna have to feel for yourself.
Experience the true remedy for your pain and stiffness. Call now.
Attention homeowners. Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Is the bank threatening to take your home? Is your home worth less than you owe? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you need to call this number right now.
Call 800-714-8615.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. You are already drinking coffee, but is it doing anything for you other than giving you a caffeine spike? Rejuvenate coffee is different. It's science-backed coffee infused with CAAKG, a powerful compound studied for its ability to support longevity, cellular energy, and metabolism at the deepest level. That means sharper mornings, no crash, more focus, and long-term benefits that your body will thank you for. I drink it because I care about my health, my energy, and how I show up for my family, for my work, and for the life I want to build. If you're going to drink coffee anyway, make it one that works as hard as you do. Head to 1775coffee.com/RAV and use the code RAV for 10% off. Start your mornings with something that fuels more than just your body. It fuels your principles. Don't just wake up, rejuvenate. All right, now that we are caffeinated, it's time to stay awake, not woke. And former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio appears to be waking up. During the pandemic, New York saw massive spikes in crime under de Blasio's leadership. From 2019 to 2020, murders increased by more than 40%. Thefts went up significantly, and shootings as well. Now, de Blasio is calling on his party to be honest about the crime problems in the country. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think it's always a fair question with Democrats. Are we doing everything that we can constitutionally and appropriately to fight crime? And I think the Democratic Party has to look at this issue much more honestly and say, hey, there are some places where we should be doing better. Our leaders should be doing better. But that's a different question, whether we should violate the Constitution, use military force in our cities, obviously with some political objectives in mind by the president as well, whether we should put our National Guard officers in harm's way for a mission they're not trained for.
And we want to know what you think. Let us know on Rumble or Getter. Hop on and let your voice be heard. Still to come on American Sunrise, the power of prayer in the wake of tragedy. That's next as we return.
Tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere to fix that. You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast, so strong, and so convenient. It's like putting the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires of your car on a single charge, or inflate a bag full of soccer balls at practice. Bullseye Pro is so advanced, it has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Plus, it can be 100% hands-free. You simply set the target pressure and walk away, keeping you out of harm's way. Bullseye Pro is lightweight, durable, and powerful enough to inflate this massive monster truck tire. Plus, it has 4 ultra-bright LED lights to safely inflate at night. Bullseye Pro comes with 3 custom air nozzles on board, so you can easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Forget driving to the gas station. Bullseye Pro is your anywhere, anytime inflation station. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system, all for the factory direct price of just $79.99. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. But to really inflate this offer, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. You get it all. An incredible value for one low price. Call or go online to order now.
To order, call 1-800-976-9718 or go to getbullseyepro.com. So call 1-800-976-9718. That's 1-800-976-9718 or order online at getbullseyepro.com. Order now.
God bless the USA.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. It is time now for our Moment of Faith, brought to us by Lee Greenwood and the God Bless the USA Bible. In focus today, the healing power of prayer. After yesterday's tragic, targeted Catholic school shooting in Minnesota left 2 children dead, along with 14 other children and 3 elderly parishioners wounded, it is now a time for prayer. For that, we turn to Pastor Jonathan Shuttlesworth, the founder of Revival Today. Jonathan, want to get your reaction to all of this. You know, I'm someone who went to Catholic school for kindergarten through 8th grade. I remember, how excited I was, to be right back to school there with all of my classmates, going to Mass. I can't even wrap my mind around the evil, how horrific this incident was. What your reaction and what can we pray for in a moment like this?
Yeah, it's terrible. And what you can pray for is for the families, for God to be with them and comfort them. And to read what Jen Psaki wrote, that this isn't the time for prayer, and she's sick of people asking people to pray. It's a time for action. You know, you can address government policy tomorrow, but people are hurting now, and it is a time for prayer because people need help in times like this that only God can provide.
Absolutely. I mean, the children whose lives were lost. I mean, evil targets the most innocent among us. Talk to us about this. You know, so many people struggle in these moments with their faith. You know, how could God let this happen? What do we need to pray for to be able to have some kind of clarity and to be able to, you know, really help others in this situation and be someone who can be comforting, someone who can lift others' spirits during tragic moments like this?
I mean, when people are going through something like this, as a pastor, the best thing to do is give them a hug and pray with them that God will help them. They don't need you can't put a nice bow on it, why it happened, and make everybody feel better. But I will say this, God doesn't interfere with people's choices. And instead of getting angry at God, people need to remember there's a devil, and there's people that have given their lives over to demon powers like this shooter did. And instead of being angry at God, you know, people should focus their anger that there's an evil power in this world that God sent his son, Jesus Christ, to deal with. And that's the only answer to dealing with that problem.
Yeah, we are seeing, we have the images on your screen right now of some of the writings and the drawings that this shooter, it very clearly seems like demonic powers that he was inspired by with all of this. It's so hard to talk about, hard to look at here, sir. You mentioned action. You know, now is the time for action to be able to try to address this, but it gets complicated. What do you think would be the best way to move forward and try to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again?
I'm not a politician, but it seems pretty easy to me. First of all, for all the Democrats that are whining about how something needs to be done, they had control of the Senate, House, and presidency in 2021 and 2022, and no meaningful steps were taken. So they should be quiet. And if you want to do something, there are plenty of people that are willing to volunteer and are well trained. If any place needs a security guard, it's every elementary school and middle school and high school. I don't think it's a difficult decision to put a trained guard. It would have stopped this.
I think that is probably something we're going to see much more frequently and much more commonly throughout this country. Security guards outside of schools, outside of churches, places of gathering for worship. But does it need to go farther than that? Is there something more that needs to be done?
From what I read, this guy had never popped up on any kind of criminal offense list. So unless you're going to take everybody's guns away, which isn't happening in this country, that a security guard would have stopped that shooting. If you go through how it went, if there was anybody on duty, it would have never happened. So no, I don't think it needs to go past that.
Yeah, Jonathan Shuttlesworth, definitely a time for prayer for all of the victims, you know, all the people impacted by this tragedy in Minnesota. Thank you so much for joining us and for your time this morning.
Nice to be on with you again.
All right. Be sure to tune in to Revival Today this Sunday morning at 9 a.m. here on RAV. We'll be back with the second hour of American Sunrise in just 2 minutes. Stick around.
Introducing the limited edition God Bless the USA Bible, inspired by Lee Greenwood's hit song and the most recognized patriotic anthem in America, God Bless the USA. The God Bless the USA large print leather-bound King James Bible also contains America's founding documents, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance, along with a handwritten chorus to Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA. With its large print and slim design, this Bible invites you to explore God's Word anywhere, anytime. The God Bless the USA Bible makes the perfect gift and cherished family heirloom keepsake to pass on to future generations. Designed for an easy reading experience in the trusted King James Version translation, this large print Bible is perfect to take to church, Bible study, work, and for traveling. Order yours today at GodBlessTheUSABible.com.
who wants to drag out a bulky vacuum? Introducing Horsepower Duck, a super compact vac with ultra-powerful suction. Clean up that mess in the kitchen, the spill on the sofa, even sawdust in the workshop. Just duck it up. The compact design can reach the tightest places, so store it in any drawer where it's always at your fingertips. You can even store it in your glove box for the ultimate car vac. The HEPA filter helps remove dust and allergens. Plus, it dumps out with ease, so it's ready to clean again. Get the Horsepower Duck hand vac for just $39.99. Order right now and we'll upgrade you to the Duck Pro package, a $30 value, yours free. You get the bendable tube, the crevice nozzle, and the soft brush nozzle, but supplies are limited, so there's a strict limit of 3 ducks per order. This may be your last chance to get yours at this low price, so don't delay. Duck it up today.
Call 1-800-693-3440 or visit duckback.com. So call 1-800-693-3440 or visit duckback.com now.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes, spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, mildew, mold, and more. Take it in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud, or outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. Get your Ruby Horsepower with 4 additional attachments, all for just $39.99. Great news! They're in stock and ready to ship. Due to high demand, only 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-944-4512. That's 1-800-944-4512 or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-944-4512 now.
Coming up on the second hour of American Sunrise, tragedy in Minnesota. A shooter hell-bent on hate murders 2 children, injures 17 others in a targeted attack on a Catholic school. In moments, the latest on crime, the victims, and the twisted mind of the alleged gunman. Plus, the road to sanity. Since winning the 2024 election, President Trump has raised over $1.5 billion, proving he remains the GOP's financial powerhouse. Why supporters say this unprecedented war chest will secure American victories for years to come. And is there a nuclear deal in the works? President Trump and Putin met in Alaska, with discussions sparking hopes for a new arms control agreement, and even China could be involved. Why supporters say Trump's tough, no-nonsense leadership could secure American safety while keeping the world's most dangerous weapons in check. Those stories and more as the second hour of American Sunrise starts right now. Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics. President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrence.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
And welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm David Brody, coming to you from D.C. Let's check in with Dr. G in West Palm and T. Bates in Denver. Good morning. It's a somber morning, guys, as we talk about this tragedy in Minneapolis. You know, I was looking at the Washington Post this morning. I didn't see anything. There was no mention at all in a 55-paragraph article about this gunman being transgender. Nothing. The only thing they did in paragraph 35, they mentioned that there were court records saying that about the name change. That was it. There were 12 paragraphs on how guns are horrible and something needs to be done. And Gina, this pretty much says it all. We kind of knew what the media would do here. And praise God, there are outlets like Real America's Voice that are going to give people the full story and the full truth.
Mass shooter in Colorado Springs was trans, Denver shooter trans, Aberdeen shooter trans, Nashville shooter trans, Philly shooter trans, Iowa shooter trans. The list goes on. It's time to address this. I don't know
Yep.
if it is the chicken or egg situation, David. I don't know if it's that people who have this problem identifying their own gender or get confused or get some sort of dysmorphic ideas in their mind, if it's that indicates that they might have a propensity, or if it's the hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on drugs, all kinds of chemicals. I'll tell you this is going to be way TMI, but take any woman with hormonal issues. You've seen it. Now imagine taking thousands of hormones and injecting them into a child. David. I'll tell you something, Terrence. I saw like about 3 days ago, I was just, doing my kids call it doom scrolling on social media, which I have a tendency to do sometimes. And I was watching, and there was this meme that popped up, and it said, it was this dad, and it was this little boy, and he was sitting across, and he put $10,000 on the table, and then he put 2 Oreo cookies, and he said, "Which one do you want?" to his child. His child's going to pick the Oreo cookies. That same child can go to a school counselor and say, "I think I want to be a girl today." The same child that picked Oreo cookies, and the dad even tried to talk him out of it. He's like, "No, $10,000. I'm going to explain to you, son. You don't want to pick the Oreo cookies." But I mean, we are talking about children. Believing children is not the same thing as trusting their ability to make coherent decisions that will affect the rest of their lives. And so when you have all of this drug money behind it, you have an entire political organization, aka the Democrats, behind pushing transgenderism and transitioning. It gets really convoluted, Terrence, to say trust children, because we're not really talking about trusting children. We're talking about trusting a young mind that is very vulnerable, and then adding a bunch of hormones and chemicals. That can make anyone crazy, T.
Yeah, and it brings us to our big story of the day, the country continuing to mourn the deadly shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. An 8-year-old and 10-year-old are dead. 14 other kids, along with 3 senior citizens, hurt. Minneapolis police chief says the injured are expected to survive. That's the good news. But late Wednesday, hundreds crowded into a nearby church for a vigil. Hundreds more mourned outside while the region's archbishop tried to comfort them. Meantime, the shock of this heinous attack are now shifting to anger.
These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country.
To that end, President Trump says he's been fully briefed on the shooting and will continue to monitor the situation. He also has ordered the U.S. flag to be flown at half-staff across the country for the rest of the month. It's happening here at the White House, as you can see. 47 continues to cement himself as the law and order president as well, with Wednesday's attack coming as he and Republican leaders on Capitol Hill craft a comprehensive crime bill. As for this latest shooting that has the entire country shaking its collective head, we now know the cowardly 23-year-old transgender shooter fired dozens of deadly shots from outside the church through the windows during morning mass. American-born Pope Leo XIV sending his condolences this morning, saying that he is praying for the relatives of the dead. While the Trump administration has one eye on Minneapolis, the other is shifting to Wisconsin today. Vice President J.D. Vance will be in the Cheese State today to promote President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The two leaders met at the White House for lunch on Wednesday in preparation for the vice president's trip today. Vance will speak about the law's benefits for manufacturing at a steel producing company there in Wisconsin. The administration traveling the country touting the benefits of the spending plan in advance of the midterms. The sales pitch includes highlighting the middle-class tax relief the measure is bringing to American families. President Trump calls it the biggest tax cut in U.S. history. That's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's get a quick national forecast from our friends over at Weather Nation.
Thanks, Terrence. We're tracking a couple of cold fronts as we head into this last unofficial weekend of summer. A lot of 70s and 80s on the board today. New York City 75, Chicago 75, Dallas still in the 90s, however, along with Houston. But we are tracking a cold front digging through the southern plains that will help to drop some of those temperatures. Areas like Little Rock and Wichita already down 15 to 20 degrees compared to average. Some severe storms are going to be possible out towards Colorado, the Red River Valley of Texas into Oklahoma today. Those threats will stick around the Front Range tomorrow, while they also drop towards the Gulf Coast, where we could be seeing some heavy rainfall and severe storms as we follow these two frontal systems getting closer to Thursday evening and Friday morning. It's still going to be watching some heavy showers out there across the Northeast and down towards the southern Gulf. But by the time we get to Saturday, the cooler reinforcing air arrives in areas like New York, Chicago, even Dallas, down to 85 degrees. And one last thing to watch as we head into this long Labor Day weekend, we have a new area in the Atlantic to monitor. Back to you.
All right, thank you, sir. For more on the tragic and heinous shooting in Minneapolis, let's bring in Steve Gruber. He, of course, is the host of America's Voice Live here on Real America's Voice. Steve, your big takeaways on all of this. There's so many different avenues we could go down, so I'll just give you an open-ended toss. Your big takeaways here.
All right, there's a lot of big takeaways here. First of all, we've got to stop ignoring mental illness in America. The idea that somehow we should be embracing the trans community and not embracing the Catholic community. I'm not Catholic. I'm embracing the Catholic community today because that's what they deserve. They've been the target of this kind of hatred, this kind of serial violence for a long time now. Enough. It's time to stand with our Catholic friends and neighbors and say enough. Let's talk about that for a moment. The other thing I was just reading, and you guys would be appalled by what I was reading on social media on places like Reddit. Well, a couple of religious zealots taken out beforehand. Wow. If you are a person that votes for Trump and your children get taken out, it's what you deserve. I mean, seriously, the people that are writing these things on Reddit and elsewhere are so repugnant. They would actually think that it's okay to murder children because they won't grow up and be conservatives or Republicans or Trump people in the future. That is how repugnant some of these comments are. And you have to ask yourself, how dark, how black is your heart? How void is your soul if you write things like that for the world to see and celebrate the idea that these children were murdered? And how terrible is it that people like Jacob Fry there, we don't need to be talking about hope and prayer and this and that because these children were literally praying. Oh, so we shouldn't pray for the Catholic families that have lost here, others circling their wagons around the transgenderism. Look, I'm inclusive of everybody, friendly to everybody. But when there's a mental issue, as this has been previously designated by the DSM 3-4 and not 5, but 2-3-4, when you have gender dysphoria, which has previously been identified as a mental illness, let's return to that. Let's talk about that. This disconnect. And the thing that Gina was saying, not lost on me. You've got all of these raging hormones and mental issues and depression and loneliness and all of these things. And then you target a Catholic church with the sayings, kill President Trump. Who is your God? Good morning. And all of these, I mean, we saw the videos with all these things written all over the magazines, the sides of the guns, a smiley face on the front of the pistol, all of those things. There's a lot to unpack here. But we need to focus on, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. making an announcement here just moments ago, that these SSRIs, these antidepressants, these dopamine limiters are being investigated now as they should be. When you give children powerful psychotropic drugs, you have to consider the impact. You have to. Mm-hmm. So many things to consider here, but enough is enough. I'm going to go back to this. We have enough money in this country, apparently, especially in states like Minnesota, to spend millions, if not billions of dollars on illegal aliens. Here's an idea. Let's make sure we have a special resource officer in every single school in America, public and private, more than one if possible. Let's make sure that we have our children protected. There are retired police officers, retired members of the military, people that will step up and do the job to protect our children at every school in America. Will it be perfect? No, but it's a good step forward, and it's a hell of a lot better than sitting here and doing nothing at all.
Well, I can't disagree with you on that, Steve. There's no doubt about that. Ever since Columbine, it's happened before Columbine, but ever since Columbine in 1999, we keep, not we, but just collectively, we as a society keep talking about, you know, we got to stop this, we got to figure out mental illness, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. And you wonder why that is. And the only thing I can come back to, and it's not a solution, it's just a reality, which is that we live in a fallen world. There are sick people out there, and this type of stuff's going to happen. But it's happening more in the last 30 years than it ever did in our country. And there's a schism. There's a difference between what's happening now compared to back in the day.
Absolutely true. Look, when I went to high school, we often had guns in the cars with us. We did. We were in a hunting state of Michigan, and during deer season or bird season or whatever, you'd have a shotgun in the vehicle. No big deal. You didn't take it into school, and you didn't walk down the hall pulling the trigger. That's the difference. There's a different mentality today, for sure. Guns were around, guns were prevalent, guns were respected. There's a lack of respect in this country. We see it for a lack of respect for police officers, a lack of respect for authority. I mean, you see these outbursts in classrooms.
Lack of respect.
There's a
for
lack
life,
of decorum,
Steve.
Right? Too often. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but as you're saying that, I'm thinking there's a lack of respect for life. There's a lack of respect for the sanctity of life, in the womb or outside. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're exactly right, Terrence. You bring up a great point. When you talk about euthanasia, you know, leaving life at a casual time when you decide, you know, in Canada, if you're depressed now, you can get on a list and take your own life. Oregon, not too far behind. Washington, not too far behind. From abortion to euthanasia for elderly people, to, you know, the slaughter in our streets, to the murder of children, and people saying, well, that's good, we won't have those conservatives around in the future. I mean, good God. What is wrong with a human being to even utter such a thing, to think such a thing? The depravity of that is appalling. You're exactly right, Terrence. There is a lessening of the value of life, and I don't know where it comes from. I think it's a separation from God in many ways. It's a separation from God in the schools and on the public square, and people think they can be their own God. Look, I believe that to be true. We need more God in America. And something else, Terrence, you touched on here, we need more fathers in America.
Great
because point. I'm going to tell you something. I don't know this kid's story yet, but I'm going to hedge a guess right here. There was no father figure in this kid's life, because if you go look at school shooters as a general rule, most of them, not every single one, but 90% plus had no strong father figure in their life. The father figure was either absent or very disconnected. I'm going to hazard a guess that that'll be true in this case as well. We need more dads in America to step up, be responsible, run your family, get your act together, and raise your children properly, and teach them respect for life and everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have a culture that celebrates abortion, right? I mean, we have, it's not just Planned Parenthood, it's the media. I mean, just go on and on. Steve, thank you so very much. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
And sorry for butting in and interrupting you, my friend. I'm sorry.
I appreciate you, Terrence.
No, it's
Likewise,
great stuff.
brother.
All right. Coming up, a major shakeup at Union Station. The Trump administration takes control of D.C.'s iconic transit hub, what it means for commuters, and how it could change the heart of the nation's capital. We have that story when we come back.
Selling your home shouldn't be expensive or stressful. At Ideal Agent, we'll connect you with a top local agent that'll sell your home fast for top dollar, and all this for as low as a 2% commission.
Ideal Agent connected me with the best realtor in my market, and I saved $12,500 as a result of it, and I got more than my asking price.
Ideal Agent is available nationwide, there's no obligation, and best of all, our service is completely free. Call today or visit idealagent.com.
When things go sideways, will you be ready? Meet the new Patriot Power Generator 1200, a solar generator that's lightweight with more capacity and more life cycles, and recharges twice as fast, all at a fraction of the price. In a blackout, power lights, TVs, medical equipment, even your fridge. No gas, fumes, or noise. It's safe to use inside your home. This is about peace of mind. Get your new solar generator and free solar panel at forpatriots.com.
Hello friends, Pat Boone here with a message from the past. In
Imagine the shock of reading tomorrow's newspaper and discovering the price of gold has doubled to over $1,000 an ounce. Sound impossible? Well, it's not. That's right. Back in 2006, my friends at Swiss America forecast gold prices would top $1,000 an ounce, and they were right. Today, several financial firms are forecasting $3,000 gold. Now, for over 40 years, Swiss America has helped folks like you and me purchase precious metals for home delivery and for our IRAs. So don't miss this opportunity again. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen now to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of the timeless truth about gold and silver. Learn for yourself how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm American Sunrise contributor Emily Finn. It's great to have you with us this morning. Time now to drain the swamp, and this morning the accused MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia is clogging things up. A federal judge says Abrego Garcia cannot be deported until at least October. The judge set an October 6th evidentiary hearing for Abrego Garcia's removal from the country. Now, earlier this week, Abrego Garcia was taken into ICE custody after he was released from a Tennessee jail after facing human smuggling charges. The Trump administration mistakenly sent him to El Salvador, but he was brought back. We do want to know what you think. Let us know on Rumble or Getter. Hop on and let your voice be heard. Coming up, we're headed down to Wall Street for the opening bell and insight into how to hold on to your hard-earned dollars with some common sense. We'll be back with more American Sunrise in just 2 minutes.
Guys, if you plan to retire in the next 20 years, or if you've already retired, I have a message for you that you need to hear. Central banks, BRIC nations, and our allies are pumping trillions of dollars back into America, but every dollar they send could make your savings worth less. Hi, I'm Donald Trump Jr., and I just want you to be prepared for the future. So protect your hard-earned savings with gold. A gold IRA from my trusted friends at the Birch Gold Group offers you the safety net of gold with the tax advantage status of a retirement account. To see how it's done, click the link below to get a free info kit on gold IRAs. This kit reveals why gold IRAs are exploding in popularity, so do it now. What do you have to lose? It's free and there's no obligation. Click the link below to get your free info kit from the Birch Gold Group.
To avoid digital threats, just turn on NordVPN. Improve your protection against trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. Get the deal now.
Kevin paid off over $12,000 in credit card debt with the help of Consolidated Credit. They cut his interest rates and lowered his payments so he could pay off his debt fast. Call 800-596-8062 for a free consultation.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing? If you've written a book, Page can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, we get you printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple iTunes, and bookstores. We'll even promote your book.
Call for your free writer's guide, 800-319-0257, or scan the QR code now.
Atlanta, good morning to you, and good morning to all of you waking up with us here on American Sunrise. We appreciate you being here, even on this somber day as we remember the victims of the shooting yesterday in Minneapolis, Minnesota. One of those mornings where many of us are hugging our kids just a little bit tighter as we put them on the school bus or drop them off at school. We're getting ready for the opening bell here at the New York Stock Exchange. It's set to ring here in just a few minutes. I can tell you, so far, so good. Look at our board. It's pretty much all green other than crude oil, which hopefully might save us a little bit of extra dollars or a couple of extra pennies at the gas tank. But all in all, things starting off on a pretty solid note, at least in pre-market trading. Again, we'll take you to the New York Stock Exchange for the actual opening bell and the opening of the markets here in just a little bit. But now, let's get you over to David. David, good morning.
Good morning, Terrence. Appreciate that. All right, time now for our daily dose of dollars and common sense. We've got American Sunrise Early Edition host and also the guy behind Jake's Take Substack. That'd be Jake Novak. Jake, all right, so we all know the markets are obsessed with NVIDIA. Is that how you say it? Is it NVIDIA,
yeah,
right?
NVIDIA.
Did I mess it up?
NVIDIA, like
okay.
pretend there's an I. NVIDIA, yeah.
NVIDIA, sorry, okay. And the whole AI craze, right? So did NVIDIA impress or depress investors with its earnings report last night? What do you have for us?
Well, that depends if you're a nitpicker or not. NVIDIA showed that they had better profits and sales than expected for the 3-month period between April and June. Okay, that's great, right? Well, the nitpickers were looking at one part of NVIDIA, that's the data center processing division. These people are geeks, and they didn't like that. So overnight, the stock was down as much as 5%, but now, as I just checked, it's only down less than 0.5% now. It's turning, which is why when Terrence just showed you those numbers, the NASDAQ is in the green as well. So we're going to have a modestly higher open on the market. NVIDIA is doing just fine, thank you. The problem is not NVIDIA. It's the people who are so obsessed with this company, every little thing it does. Now, it is the most valuable company in the world. I get being interested in it. But, you know, we have a much more diversified economy than just NVIDIA and AI, and I hate to see it move the markets as much just because it's one company. We might as well be like a communist country if we're only like looking at one. I hate this. I don't like it. More power to NVIDIA. I don't have any problem with them. I just hate the fact that we obsess about one thing like this. I don't like it.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's move on from AI stuff to the car market. You're sounding the alarm on car loans in America. Why is that?
Yeah. Okay. Here's something really not to like. So now a quarter of all the people who are borrowing right now and getting a car loan are getting 7-year car loans, which is a great way, by the way, for the auto dealer when they're selling you that car to basically charge you more. They'll say, hey, it's the same low monthly payment. Yeah, but you're making it for 2 more years. I mean, that's a big deal. Right. And of course, this is leading to this other problem, David. People are underwater on their car loans. In other words, they still owe more on the loan than the car is worth. We're seeing about a third of trade-ins of people coming in and they're trading in a car where they have to pay a little extra than what they're getting on the trade-in just to close the loan. And the average trade-in now for a lot of people is negative. So this is really, really scary. I don't love this trend. And I happen to know that the banks are looking at this very, very closely about how they can protect themselves from this. It might be harder to get a car loan because too many people are taking out too much money. I mean, maybe just wait for the new car instead of like getting a 7-year loan. I don't love it.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of new cars, on a personal note, I've been trying to get a new car. I've been trying I'll be honest with you, for 2 years. And I look at these car prices and I'm just like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. Are car prices coming down anytime soon? Or have they been coming down? Am I missing something? Where do I need to go, Jake? Jake, help me out. Be my personal car consultant here because I want to buy like a big van. I don't know why. All the kids are gone. But my wife, she wants a van because, you know, you got the grandkids and then you load up people. I don't know. But I want to buy a van. What do you think? What should I do?
Well, car prices aren't going down necessarily, but they've been totally flat. Remember, I've been reporting that since April 1st, car prices are up 0.0, Mr. Blutowski. That is where they are. So if you compare it to inflation, I guess they are going down. I just had on my program on American Sunrise Early Edition noting that, and I don't know if these are good cars. I can't vouch for their reliability. However, you're going to see some bargains on Ford Escapes and Lincoln Corsairs, which aren't quite vans, David, but they are SUVs. You're going to get $7,000 back on a Ford Escape at a lot of dealerships right now. I don't know what the incentives are on the Corsair yet because I don't think they've announced them, but that's a snazzy looking car. Again, I can't vouch for their reliability. For all I know, they're super reliable. I don't know if they are or not. But remember, whatever you get, think about having it for a long time. Just take it to the car wash. There's nothing to be ashamed of to have a car that's 5 or 6 years old because you'll be saving money. I'll be impressed with your money saving abilities if I see that.
All right. Thank you very much. And by the way, we can now know your age because you said the word snazzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's a kind of an old school term. I like it because I use it all the time, which means I'm very old. Okay, let's get back to AI. There's something different about the jobs AI is affecting in the big tech sector. So should some top Silicon Valley people be worried, Jake?
They should be, and I mean all the way to the top. AI is taking jobs not from entry-level workers completely. That's true in some cases. But it's taking managers' jobs. Google has cut about 30% of some of their manager jobs just in the last several months. Now, they're saying it for two reasons. AI is either the direct reason, like an AI program can replace them, or they're cutting these jobs because they want to build up their cash reserves so they can spend more money on AI. Either way, AI is coming for some pretty high-earning people in Silicon Valley. And we're showing video right now of Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. I'm telling you, the CEOs are going to get replaced one day. See, everyone who gets replaced by AI, by a manager deciding to use AI to replace someone, it ends up like that manager gets replaced by AI too. It really goes around, comes around kind of situation. That's what we're seeing right now. It's already pretty high up on the chain. So if you're in big tech and you got one of these good jobs, maybe you don't want to lay off that one guy who's under you and replace him with AI, because AI is going to come for you soon enough.
Hey, let me ask you about interest rates real quick. We talked about them all the time. What do you think? Where are they going, and when are they going, if they're going at all?
Well, one of the reasons why the markets are up.
Before you say that, before you answer that,
here we go.
I got to go to Tom Holman. Yeah, the border czar is speaking. He speaks.
Yeah.
Let's listen in live from the White House.
Ahead of operations in the city.
There's discussions about that, yes.
How soon could we see ICE agents using that as a hub?
We'll see. It's under discussions. The planning is still being discussed, so maybe by the end of the day, but yeah, it's being discussed.
And how many ICE agents are you anticipating on the ground there with National Guard troops? I assume will also use that naval base as a hub?
I know, but I'm not going to say. We're not going to tell you how many resources we're going to send to the city. We don't want the bad guy to know what we're sending. It'll be a large contingent.
Mr. Herman, do you have a response to Mayor Bowser yesterday saying that masked ICE agents are ineffective?
Do what?
She said yesterday during her press conference that masked ICE agents are ineffective.
Masked ICE agents are ineffective?
Yeah.
Well, they're extremely effective. I mean, look at the crime rate in D.C. President Trump's going to make D.C. the model city of the world. I mean, this is the capital, the greatest capital in the world. It has to be an example of the whole world. And the crime rate's already dropped significantly. It's not based on data. It must be based on her skewed opinion, because I see the numbers every day. They're doing a great job. D.C.'s much safer today. She ought to be. If she had an ounce of integrity, she'd be thanking President Trump for making D.C. safer again.
Sir, there are reports from different parts of the country that you have criminals now putting on masks, dressing in ersatz, police gear, ballistic vests, and whatnot, and robbing people. How should Americans be sure that if they're approached by someone wearing a mask, wearing a vest, pointing a gun at them, that's a police officer, an ICE agent, federal agent, and not a criminal?
Well, the criminal's been wearing masks for a long time. I mean, I saw groups like Antifa commit thousands of crimes over the past few years wearing masks, and no one complained about it. I mean, look, every ICE officer has insignia on their HSI or ERO. And I can't prevent someone from making pretend they're. I've seen in my career, I've seen people paint a car as a Border Patrol color. Unfortunately, that happens. We'll hold them accountable when they're caught. But the bottom line is, I don't particularly like masks, but the ICE officers need the mask because their families are being doxxed. And believe me, I know, because I'm a victim of it. Their families are being doxxed, their children are being doxxed, their families are being put in harm's way. But no one asks the question, why didn't you got all these legislatures out there want to pass laws that prevent ICE from wearing masks? Meanwhile, I don't see any legislation that Antifa on masking, or these people do these violent counter protests. It's not just protests that turn violent and attacks ICE officers. No one's asking for legislation to take their mask off. So ICE agents are doing what they got to do to make this country safe again. So they're doing a fabulous job. It's a dangerous, important job. But their families are being attacked. And I know for a fact, because my family's been attacked, I support them wearing masks. And a lot of it's based on, that question should be given to the lawmakers on Capitol Hill, Democrat lawmakers who want to compare ICE to racists, the Nazis. You know, it's just disgusting, because ICE is enforcing the laws they enacted. If Congress don't like what ICE is doing, they can certainly change the law. And the protesters want to turn violent against ICE, why don't they go to Capitol Hill and protest Capitol Hill? They wrote the law that ICE is enforcing. So any member of Congress to call ICE a racist or a terrorist for enforcing the law they wrote is disgusting on every level. They shouldn't be a member of Congress.
Mr. Homan, the other day in the cabinet meeting, the president talked about trying to find the right balance between the president's tough immigration policies and also helping out American farmers who rely on undocumented migrants to pick their crops. What does that compromise look like from your perspective?
I'm not going to get ahead of the president on that. I'm discussing that with people, but until the president makes a final decision, I'm not going to get ahead of him. I'll support what the president comes up with. Again, this is a job of Congress, right? If there's a need for these workers to be into the country, we have a lack of those workers, and Congress has certainly improved the visa program. But I'm not going to get ahead of the president. I'll wait till the president makes his final decision, and we'll go from there.
Sir, how many people are still detained at Alligator Alcatraz, and do you still see a role for that facility?
It's about 50% full right now. First of all, I disagree with the judge who made that decision. I went down there. I walked through the detention areas where these people sleep and live. I saw a clean facility, a well-maintained facility. I went to the medical center and talked to the nurses there on staff, looked at the medical facility. It was great. I even asked, what if there's a serious situation here? Can you handle it? And they can. And if it got too serious, there's a helicopter right there on premises to take them to the nearest trauma center. That's better than a lot of U.S. citizens have. And I even went to the cafeteria, and I actually looked at what they were serving for lunch that day. I opened it up and looked at it, and it was good food. And the whole environmental concern, I was briefed by the person running the facility that all the waste is removed from that facility every day, taken off-site and removed from the facility. And as far as the complex itself, is built on existing infrastructure. The runways and the airport was already there. These are just off-site facilities. Now I'll say this, I thought it was a great transition facility, but I do think ICE needs more brick and mortar facilities. We've got the money now to build infrastructure, like we're building the wall and other things down there. We need permanent facilities. But I think, I'm thanking Governor DeSantis and the other governors who are stepping up, saying we want to help you build detention facilities because they're affected by the last 4 years of an open border and all the criminals that were released in this country. So I welcome the governor stepping up and helping us with these transitional facilities.
As they talked about sending the National Guard into other cities like Chicago, is this a way to target sanctuary cities?
Well, I think you're sending to National Guard would be in cities that have crime problems. But I'll tell you this, I was in L.A. when that whole thing started there, and I was there the first couple of nights, and I'm glad the president sent the National Guard to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a safer city today because of what President Trump did. The men and women at ICE were physically attacked. The facility was physically attacked. The housed aliens that were arrested, that put them in danger. After 2 days, the governor of California and Mayor Bass not taking action, President Trump did. He made the right decision. So National Guard, they're not out there, being the head of enforcing immigration law. They're assisting ICE and ICE operations to help with the infrastructure, intelligence, transportation. ICE officers are making the rest, but as far as the National Guard going to cities and making it safe again, I see great success in Washington, D.C., and I agree with the president sending them to cities that have a high crime rate. If these mayors choose to not address the crime rate, President Trump is going to. He made a promise to the American people, and that's why he's sitting in the Oval Office. American people put him in there because he promised to make America safe again. That's what he's doing.
Why hasn't that happened in New York yet, considering you called for ICE agents to be more present?
We've had an increase in ICE presence in New York.
What about National Guard? Do you think they should be sent in the next few months?
I won't get ahead of the president and where we go next.
Mr. Holman,
Can I ask a question about
data on crime reduction numbers due to deportations, self-deportations, and the removal of criminals from the United States?
Yeah, there's been several studies by several groups here in D.C. The crime rate has dropped down in areas where we've done surge operations. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but look, not every illegal alien in this country is a public safety threat, but many are. for that percentage that are, when we deport them, that makes the city safe again. And despite what I read in the media, that we're arresting all these non-criminals, I look at the number every morning on the way here. I look at the numbers every morning. There's about 22 pages of data. 70% of everybody ICE arresting is a criminal. But the left says, well, not criminal enough, it's just a DUI. DUI kills over 10,000 people a year. That's a public safety threat. I don't care what anybody thinks. 70% of the people ICE arrest are criminals. Who's the other 30%? National security threats. We arrested thousands of national security threats. Many of them don't have a criminal history because their whole goal is lay low until they do their dirty deed. Gang members, a lot of gang members don't have criminal history. And finally, final deportation orders. People who had due process at great taxpayer expense, they were ordered removed by a federal judge and they didn't leave. And we're looking for them too. Because we're sending a message to the whole world. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. It's certainly not okay to ignore a judge's order after you've been given due process. The message we're going to send, we have consequences. And one of the reasons we have such a secure border right now is not only because of great work the men and women of the Border Patrol have done, the President signed executive orders like Remain in Mexico and Ending Catch and Release. A part of the success of the most secure border in this nation's history, because we're showing the world there's consequences. You enter this country legally, it's not okay. If you get order removed by a federal judge, you're going to leave, and we're going to make sure of that. And I think the world's seeing ICE operations throughout this nation, 1,000 teams out there every day. We're sending a message, and that's helped greatly reduce the amount of people who are trying to come to the border.
Mr. Homan, we're going to ask a question about legal immigration.
There are reports about a multi-agency immigration operation in Chicago after Labor Day. Can you confirm those reports and why Chicago?
Look at the crime rate in Chicago. I mean, when this administration first came to power, Brandon Johnson, mayor there, he says I wasn't welcome to Chicago. Where was I the first day? Chicago. And I was up there in operation. I remember that first day, if I remember the numbers right, the first day we took like 9 predators off the street. Sexual child predators off the street. We arrested members of TDA. We arrested Trendo Iowa. We arrested members of MS-13. We arrested 2 people that were convicted of murder that were walking the streets. Illegal aliens. So in one day, look what we did. Chicago still has a crime problem. So President Trump, again, made a promise to American people, we'll make this country safe again. So Chicago has a crime problem. That's why President Trump's thinking about it.
So is that operations ramping up after Labor Day?
Operations are ramping up across the country, but you can see a ramp up of operations in Chicago, absolutely. You're going to see a ramp up of operations in New York. You're going to see a ramp up of operations continue in LA. And, Portland, Seattle. I mean, all these sanctuary cities that refuse to work with ICE, where we know public safety threats are being released every day into this country, especially those cities, we're going to address that. We don't have that problem in Texas and Florida where all the sheriffs are working with us and they're actually holding people for us and letting us know when someone's being released. So we're going to take the assets we have and move them to problem areas like sanctuary cities where we know for a fact they're releasing public safety threat, illegal aliens to the streets every day. That's where we need to send the majority of the resources, and that's where they're going.
Mr. Homan, only the immigration. The Trump administration is considering reduce the duration of visa for students and journalists. For journalists, for instance, the I visa would be right now that lasts for a year would be 240 days. Can you confirm this? And why is this important? Why do you consider this important to limit the duration of the visa for journalists?
I can't confirm that. No.
Tom, on a personal or professional level, can you just offer your reaction to the Catholic school shooting yesterday?
It's heartbreaking. I mean, I made no qualms about it. I'm a lifelong Catholic, and I actually went to Catholic school, and it was terrible. What happened was terrible. And I hope y'all hit your knees last night and said a prayer for those children and their families. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing.
Mr. Homan, Gavin Newsom has accused ICE of being Trump's personal army and being more loyal to the president than the Constitution.
Gavin Newsom's an embarrassment to the position he holds. Hard stop. If he had an ounce of integrity, he would be calling President Trump and thanking President Trump for making LA safer. He'd be calling the head of ICE and thanking them for the thousands of criminals, public safety threats they've taken off the streets of California. He'd be calling Secretary Noem and thanking her. If the data proves it, anybody can look at the data who we've arrested in California, he ought to be thanking us. So Governor Newsom he's an embarrassment to the position he holds, and He's trying to be relevant, apparently, whatever. But we're going to be in LA today. We're going to be in LA tomorrow. We're going to be in every California city. We'll be in San Diego. I was in San Diego, in Seattle, Portland last week, meeting with the men and women at ICE to understand the hate being pushed against them, letting them know that the president has their six. I have their six. They're going to keep doing the job without apology. So Governor Newsom can stand by and watch President Trump make California safe. Okay?
Alligator Alcatraz was a waste of money. Now it's being shut down.
I think the judge made a bad decision. I was there. And it's a transitional facility. It's not a long-term facility. It's a transitional facility. I thank the governors who are stepping up and saying, let us help you. Because they felt the wrath of the last 4 years of open borders. 4 years. 10.5 million people come in this country. Most of them released in the nation. Right? And again, I'll say it again. Not every illegal alien is a public safety threat, but many are. But we have the most secure border in the history of the nation today because of President Trump and the men and women of the Border Patrol and the men and women of ICE. This country is safer. And with illegal immigration down 94 to 96%, you all know this, there's been studies done to say 31% of women that make that journey get sexually assaulted by the cartels. Under Joe Biden, we had a record number of aliens die making that journey, over 4,000. That's a historic number of people dying making that journey. Historic number of people, 250,000, died from fentanyl poisoning because of that open border and fentanyl flowing across. Sex trafficking, women and children were at historic highs. Number of known suspected terrorists, over 400 just on the southern border, an historic high. So when President Trump has illegal immigration down 94 to 96%, how many women aren't being raped making that journey? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many aliens aren't dying making that journey? How many Americans aren't dying right now from fentanyl overdoses because that border is secure? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked in this country because of what President Trump did? President Trump's success on the border is unprecedented. He's saving lives by the thousand. Even the wall. People want to attack the wall as his vanity wall. This is America's wall. Because every place they build a wall, illegal immigration is decreased, illegal drug flows decrease. But one of the most important things no one talks about, the wall saves lives. Women and children can't get over that wall, which means they go to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women of the Border Patrol who's going to take care of those medical needs, because a lot of them are in bad shape when they get there. President Trump's on the border. His success on board is unprecedented. I wake up every day proud I'm working with this guy because he's the greatest president of my lifetime. He proves it every day. Thank you.
That was Border Czar Tom Homan speaking outside the White House, taking about 10 minutes to answer reporters' questions there. We, of course, will have more coverage on that throughout the day. In the meantime, if you're stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April deadline or your books are a mess, well, don't wait, folks. The IRS is really cracking down. We're talking penalties that add up really fast, 5% per month up to 25% just for not filing. The good news is there's help. Tax Network USA can take the burden off of your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee, a small business owner, or if you haven't filed in years. If you've got messy books, don't even worry about it. They can take care of you. They've seen it all, and they know exactly how to clean it up. With direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side, Tax Network USA knows how to win. You'll get a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. More importantly, they'll help protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Instead, call 800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off and let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues for you. We've got more American Sunrise coming your way after this break.
Thinking about Social Security? Think AMAC. The AMAC Foundation takes the confusion and stress out of understanding Social Security's thousands of rules and regulations. Our nationally accredited advisors offer a personal touch that is unmatched. But that's not all AMAC has to offer. AMAC is America's leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization, guided by the principles of faith, family, and freedom. So when it comes to Social Security and so much more, think AMAC.
Selling your home shouldn't be expensive or stressful. At Ideal Agent, we'll connect you with a top local agent that'll sell your home fast for top dollar, and all this for as low as a 2% commission.
Ideal Agent connected me with the best realtor in my market.
and I saved $12,500 as a result of it, and I got more than my asking price. Ideal Agent is available nationwide, there's no obligation, and best of all, our service is completely free. Call today or visit idealagent.com.
Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be using this. Particle 6-in-1 Face Cream for Men, the first of its kind anti-aging cream designed specifically for men. Fights eye bags, dark spots, and wrinkles. Visit ParticleMen.com and use the promo code on your screen to receive 25% off your entire order. Plus, we've got free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. www.ParticleMen.com. Because seeing is believing.
All right, time now to take the pulse. I was going to say the political pulse. Well, it is. It's all of that, but it's time to take the pulse of America. The beat today, the senseless tragedy of yesterday's tragic Catholic school shooting in Minnesota that left 2 children dead, along with another 14 children and 3 elderly parishioners wounded. Joining us now with insight is Anthony LaBruna. He's the executive director at the American Principles Project. Anthony, what you will not hear on CNN and MSNBC and all those liberal publications and media outlets is the fact that this is an alleged transgender person. We know this now, and he went in, there were court records saying that he changed his name to Robin. Help us through some of this, because the media simply will not talk about it, but we're going to talk about it here.
Well, you know, school shootings do a good job at spotlighting our cultural failures. And this is clearly obvious that we have missed something here. For far too long, we've indulged in these fantasies. And it's Republicans and Democrats. Republicans wanted to appease this issue for years. We're just now starting to crack down on this transgender ideology stuff. But we should have been cracking down on this a long time ago and getting the mental health that these people really needed. But instead, we placated them. We said we'd go along to get along. And we're really starting to see consequences from these actions from Republicans not taking action. But then on top of it, Democrats are placating to it. They are indulging these people. And if you look at the mass shootings that's been happening over the last decade, you know, we're seeing multiple individuals who identify as trans, and all these different perspectives that they have. It's doing a lot of harm to our country. And we really have to crack down on this. And I just want to say this. What a coward. What a coward. The fact that he targets a Catholic school and where his mother used to work and takes the lives of innocent children, he is pathetic. He's a coward. And honestly, we need to do a better job at this.
Yeah. And now he's dead, along, sadly, with 2 children. And he took their lives, just snuffed them right out. Shame on him. Anyway, don't even get me started. All right, Anthony, what do they do? I mean, what's the treatment here? Not that you're a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything here, but you know, what can you do here from the mental illness perspective? Because this idea that there's gender dysphoria, yeah, there is, and it's being manufactured by a liberal media that is basically saying embrace your own truth, and people are like, you know, if they pick up a if a boy picks up a Barbie doll at the age of 2 years old, they want to now explore possible, truth for them. And then they want to come out as a girl because they picked up a Barbie doll at 2 years old. I mean, give me a break. What do you do? What's the plan here? Because the DSM-5, this whole thing, they talk about dissecting gender dysphoria or diagnosing it after 6 months. But 6 months, I mean, it takes years to diagnose something, and now they just want to rush to judgment here, and it's ridiculous.
Well, I think any American can look at an individual who wants to remove their genitalia or put themselves on hormones, change their names because they don't feel like they're the right individual in the body. We can identify that and say that's not right. There's something wrong there. I don't think it really takes a psychiatrist to pick that out and say, okay, this person's mentally ill. I think any American could identify and say, there's something not right with that individual. And look, kids are going to be kids. Kids play with multiple toys. I know I had a sister, I grew up with Barbies and multiple different toys. Just because I picked up a Barbie doll or played with my sister didn't mean I didn't know what body I was in, right? And I think we really have to hold the people accountable who are going to children at a vulnerable age and saying, hey, you picked up a Barbie doll, or you're playing with girl toys, or a girl's playing with, G.I. Joes. You're not in the right body. These people should be held accountable for forcing this narrative on kids, our most vulnerable in society.
How do you hold them accountable? What would be some
jail time
policy suggestions? Jail time. Mm-hmm.
I think it's jail time. I think we have to look at it and actually say, if you're going to do this, you're going to step on parents' rights, there should be real consequences to your actions.
Yeah, no. Well, I hear you on that. I mean, that's controversial. I mean, I don't think it's controversial, but it's going to be controversial. Do you think this train? And maybe this is a rhetorical question. Do you think the train has left the station on this? I don't think it has. I think there's a real critical juncture point that we're at right now in society.
Well, I think this is going to cause for, a lot of states across the country have already taken action to deny, gender transition surgeries for minors, right? We're talking 27 states. There needs to be a federal law, right? And then there needs to be stuff put on top of it that's going to diagnose and analyze these individuals who do want to go through with these procedures because they're mentally not all there. We've placated them for too long. I think this is going to, we've had state action that has not led to enough. We need federal action. We need a vote on this. We need Congress to hold these people accountable. Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Thune, right? This is a call to action to them to actually enforce laws that protect our children, but then on top of it, go after the people who are pushing this narrative. And, this is sad. You're living in Minnesota. It's a Democratic-run state, right? Yeah. We don't want this to fester out to states like Texas or Iowa. We want these Republican strongholds, no matter where you live, blue or red state, your children should be safe.
No doubt about it. Anthony LaBruna, great insight. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, we're going to have some final thoughts on that tragedy, of course, in Minnesota. Back in a moment.
US Med, a trusted supplier of diabetes equipment for nearly 30 years, has great news for people living with diabetes and the pain of regular testing. New Medicare and private insurance guidelines have expanded coverage for continuous glucose monitors, even for people not using insulin. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, and eliminate routine finger sticks. US Med has the newest models of CGM, which are more accurate and convenient than ever. CGMs are shown to lower your A1C, increase your time in range, and reduce the risk of hypoglycemic events. Shipping is free, and will even bill your insurer directly. Don't spend one more painful day testing your blood sugar. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Call US Med now.
A heart attack? Do they have life insurance?
No.
But we have life insurance. John.
I'm trying to find something we can afford. Fortunately, in only a few minutes, SelectQuote found John a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Anne a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month. Go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs
at a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
What's your plan, huh? Do you have one? Talking about what is your plan for a reliable source of power when the next emergency strikes. Well, check this out. It's called the Patriot Power Generator 2500, and right now it's $500 off at 4 Patriots. See, they took a page out of the military's playbook for portable solar power, and now we get to use it in our own homes. What's even better is that this solar generator can power critical appliances like your fridge, your microwave, and your CPAP machine, so that you're prepared for whatever emergency strikes next. Go to 4patriots.com now and save $500.
back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. G. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are really all still, just grieving for these families here at Real America's Voice over the shooting, the mindless rampage that took the lives of 2 children and injured many more at the Annunciation Catholic Church, Catholic Church in Minnesota. We have to look at what can stop this. We just have to look at that. And a lot of media hiding their heads in the sand. I want to bring in David and Terrence to talk about this. And Emily, we got a bonus over there. Here's the thing. This is not about our biblical morals and us wanting to impose those, right? I think every single one of us are very open-minded. We all know all kinds of people that maybe don't agree with our exact lifestyle choices, and no one's here to impugn them. I think this is about looking at root causes of murder and mass shootings. And I think we have to not only look at transgenderism in and of itself, I think we have to look at the drugs, the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of drugs that are pumped into people, these hormones. We all know the effect of hormones. We've all seen it in our own lives and loved ones. I think we have to look at pot. Almost every single one of these mass shooters was engaging in mass amounts of pot. That seems to be a theme that also no one wants to talk about because there's a lot of money in pot today. We all know that as well. I think we all have to look at these antidepressants, these SSRI inhibitors, Terrence, that you mentioned earlier. Almost every single one of them are on these drugs, and the efficacy of these drugs is very questionable. When you look at the relationship, and I'm doing a whole book on this right now, when you look at the relationship between the people that serve on the board of the DSM-5 and the conditions and the drugs that they are willing to put in the DSM-5 and all the changes and edits that have been made through these boards, who, by the way, almost without exception, have more than $1 million invested in the very drugs that they prescribe. You have to ask the hard questions, even when it's uncomfortable. And anyone who isn't asking the questions that every single person on this show is asking is questionable themselves, I think, David.
Yeah, I'll just be real quick. I go back to biblical truth. And you're either a man or you're a woman. And people are searching for truth, and the kids are confused. And that is at the root of all of this.
Yeah.
And David, I'm going to take it to an even more biblical truth. Thou shalt not kill, period.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, War Room is up next. I hope that they will continue to ask these hard questions. I hope that all of you will continue to ask the hard questions. Make America talk again. It's really an important thing. You guys go boldly now. Live the truth.
Of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Susan Monarez, has been fired. Earlier this evening, the Department of Health and Human Services announced that Dr. Monarez is, quote, no longer director of the CDC. She was confirmed by the Senate less than a month ago. The Washington Post reports she was pressed for days by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., administration lawyers, and other officials over whether she would support rescinding certain approvals for coronavirus vaccines. Kennedy and other officials questioned Monarez on Monday on whether she was aligned with the administration's efforts to change vaccine policy. Well, this afternoon, Dr. Monarez's attorney said she would not resign, that she was being targeted for political reasons, and that she had not been notified by the White House that she was fired. But tonight, the White House confirmed she was officially terminated. The CDC is now also without some key senior leaders following the HHS announcement that Monarez was out. 4 other top officials resigned. One said they could no longer serve in the role because of the ongoing weaponizing of public health. I'm going to say that again. Ongoing weaponizing of public health.
You have a group of individuals who, as Steve Bannon originally said in 2015, and no one paid attention, are trying to deconstruct the administrative state and create a government that they want. Burn it down to the ground. And this is extremely dangerous stuff. I mean, not just from an economic perspective, we know what's going on at the Fed. From a health perspective, what's going on at the CDC and at the NIH and everywhere else in the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm 64 and a half. I will have every pre-existing condition written out that God knows has created in order to get the vaccines that I'm entitled to so I can stay healthy, before I start drawing my Medicare that I'm not going to get next year.
And so in our country, in order to continuously make excuses on why we are not going to take a collective action on a federal level that collectively addresses this problem is beyond me. And I want the mothers, in this country to rise up and to recognize that for the love of the Second Amendment, for the love of our gun culture, we have to have a greater love for our kids. We have to have a greater love for the safety of our communities. Something has to prevail because the rest of the world has decided that they love their children way more than they love their ability to have easy access to guns. And we have to get there as well.
The reality is that we have an administration that has got this, make America healthy again thing going on. I just, for the record, just said that's a load of crap. Because I don't know how you make people healthy when you deny them access to vaccines. I don't know how you make people healthy when you fire the people who do the research and who do the development and work within the institutions of government to make sure you have access to all of those things that you need to be healthy. So this is a large crock, which it typically is, and it's frustrating on so many levels, Dr. Redlener, particularly when you see in states like West Virginia, you have efforts underway by the Trump administration to offer religious exemptions from school vaccine mandates, alarming public health advocates who see it as part of a broader campaign to undermine an effective immunization strategy. How the hell do you make America healthy again when you put sending kids to school with exposure to potential diseases that could harm and kill them? Can we all just get a grip and understand what's happening here? I don't understand this.
It's amazing. And by the way, there's things that are happening that are not really in the public eye. For example, we withdrew from the World Health Organization. And that's where we and colleagues from across the world were doing collaborative research, coming up with new ideas, new vaccines, new solutions to these problems. And by the way, I just want to couple this for a second with the story about the school shooting. You want American children healthy and safe, and we have these 350 or 400 million guns, including assault rifles, in the general public, and then you're keeping them from getting vaccinated like they should be. You're creating probably the most dangerous era for children's health in more than a century. And it's absolutely shocking, Michael. And somebody's going to have to do something about this, but I really think it's going to boil down to a focus on Republican senators and them putting pressure on the administration to start with getting rid of Bobby Kennedy.
National Guard soldiers and masked federal law enforcement officers were mobilized 1,000 miles away, roaming Washington, D.C. in search of a violent crime wave that just doesn't exist. On orders from a president who claims that he now runs that nation's capital, that he runs the whole country, that he has the right to do whatever he wants because he's president. President who in recent days has mused openly about being a dictator, says in starkly racist language he would love to send his troops into Chicago, New York, and more American cities next. It is a dark timeline out there, people. I don't have to tell you that.
I've seen something like this at this agency. Remember that this is not an agency that deals with widgets. This is an agency that deals with health and life. And when the CDC doesn't get it right, a lot of people die. And when you lose your brain talent, a lot of people are going to die. I don't know how else to put it. I know the 3 people who have now resigned. They were all essential during the COVID fight. Dr. Daskalakis was the point person on Mpox, monkeypox. Deb Hurry would constantly be providing us with great guidance on where we needed to go on so many different issues involving disease. You just don't get rid of people like that and say you're going to replace them. It's I don't get it. It doesn't make sense, and America's going to feel the pain.
When you seize the institutions, let's seize them.
This is what the left did. This is why the country's in such a bad shape. This is why the Republican Party for years has been the controlled opposition. This rot in our institution, you think it just occurred overnight? Decade after decade after decade, tapping it along.
There's nowhere where that's more relevant than getting to make your own decisions or letting someone else. And Donald Trump wants to keep making your decisions for you. And you mentioned it with gerrymandering, Nicole, but it goes beyond that. We just got news that they've installed a head of election security at DHS who's going to use the powers of DHS to try to rig the 2026 election in Donald Trump's favor. He wants to keep making your decisions for you. And we know what Republicans would call this if it was happening to them. In the party I came from, if troops were deployed on their streets, if their vote was being taken away from them, they would call it civil war. That's how serious they would treat it. Now, we shouldn't say that in response. We don't want an armed response to Donald Trump's takeover, but we need to treat it with that level of seriousness because that's what Republicans would call it. The presidential revenge campaign has gone to places this country has never seen before, and we need to mount a nonviolent response that's never been seen before.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Thursday, 28 August in the year of our Lord 2025. So many fronts, so much progress we're making in really taking control of this country and trying to save it from these demonic progressives, Marxists, jihadists, the whole dog's breakfast of people that hate America. Obviously, they hate the MAGA movement and they hate President Trump. First order of business, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to get to the CDC, the trucker situation, we're going to get to that, Ukraine. The Russians last night, ballistic missile attack, drone attack, just absolutely pounding the capital city of Kiev. Thayer's going to be on later. We're also going to talk about the battle group that's down in, or the amphibious assault group that's down or heading to the Caribbean with some Navy escorts, get some destroyers down there. But what's happening in Central America, the cartel wars is coming to Mexico, Central America, maybe even Venezuela. But we got to start with this shooting yesterday, and the reason is we curated and went through everything, and I personally watched and all of MSNBC last night and CNN. We did it kind of on a thing so I could find it, and not one time in all those shows did they ever talk about the shooter, the transgender ideology, his this dude's because he is a man, right? His whatever transition he's going through, the psychological issues, demonic. So we've got Brandon Showalter on. Joe Allen is actually in the war room. John Lott's going to join us. I want to start with Sheila Matthews. Sheila, you have made this case now for you, and it's so obvious that you, ma'am, are onto something big that they want to hide because they go through. And you said something to me yesterday, just in the middle of when this first came out, that when they have these press conferences or they're seeing the armored vehicles going around the neighborhood and you have the 5,000 cops show up and SWAT teams after the fact, that these things are made to confuse you. And the media, when you look at it that way, it's absolutely correct. It's to take the spotlight off the thing itself and to put it in all these sideshows. And then they perfect it later in the evening when they get their major host on. But we can't do this anymore. This has to stop because this is an epidemic or a pandemic, and it's not about guns and it's not about AR-15s. It's none of that. We have a massive problem in this country, and of course today, between Brandon Showalter, Stephen K. Bannon, and Joe Allen, we have different angles of attack on that. But I think it still gets back to the railhead. Explain to us yesterday what happened and how this fits into your theory of the case of what we're dealing with here, ma'am?
Sure. Thanks, Steve, for having Able Child on again. We've been working on mass killings for over 12 years, longer than before Sandy Hook. And basically what happened yesterday was you have a massive crime scene. You have a ballistics nightmare because of the 3 guns that were being used. So we have to make sure that that is collected properly. You have a dead body, a suicide victim, after committing 2 homicides. So you have a crime scene. And so this is what tells us the facts. And Able Child over the years have been pointing out that the common factor is that the mental health records are suppressed, that the psychiatric industry is completely let off the hook, and the family members are often shielded by these mental health providers that scoop in and are sent directly into the crime scene when they are participants in the lead up often to these mass killings. So we have a very confused situation. We have a mayor who really is a drama king that is pinning communities against each other. And in the meanwhile, we have valuable evidence that needs to be collected. And we're not doing that. And the past history of these mass killings have this one thing in common: corrupted crime scenes, withholding of mental health records. So we have to look at the facts. We can't get emotional about this. I mean, the families are already emotional. Having people come in and do these drama proclamations of it's about gun control, it's about getting more mental health. This is the problem, because then we lose sight of the legislation that needs to happen in the aftermath of these mass killings, Steve.
Okay, hang on for 1 second. We're gonna Sheila's gonna be with us. We've got Brandon Showalter. It's done more than any individual in this country to lead the fight against this radical transgender ideology. We've got Joe Allen, who's also, I think, spent the last 10 or 15 years of his life studying this situation. John Lott, who's done such an amazing job, and he's here to talk about this killing. He's also here to give us some guidance on what's happening in D.C. and how it's going to roll out throughout the country. We have a crisis with these young men. I think now in some young women, but it's got to be dealt with. We need to find out exactly what's going on with these mental health professionals. What is happening? What is being advocated? What drugs are being given? That's your problem. You get to the bottom of that, you're going to solve a lot of this. And all this yesterday, Sheila's absolutely correct. The mayor was a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. He's a drama queen running around. And Walz, the governor, what a clown. Think about it. That guy was almost vice president of the United States. Think about that. Think about a party that would put that guy up to be a vice president of the United States. Meditate on that for a moment. Short commercial break. We'll be back in the war room in just a moment.
Do you have time to take a survey for our disabled veterans? Do you have time to take a survey? Hey, do you have time to take a survey? Okay. Hey, ma'am, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Great. Well, I'm with Disabled American Veterans. Do you have a moment to chat?
Yes,
awesome.
I do.
If you had the opportunity to say thank you to a disabled veteran, do you know what you would say?
I feel like I just thank him for what he's done for me, you know?
We actually have that opportunity right now.
Oh my God.
If you turn around, we have one of our veterans with us.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Mike. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I just want to thank you so much for risking your life for me and everyone here, and I thank you for the sacrifices you made, and I appreciate you.
You seem a little emotional. What's going on?
I looked down at your arm and I shook your hand, and I realized that you did it at the cost for me. You did it for me, and you didn't have to, and I just thank you for sacrificing yourself for me.
It's okay. I'd do it again and again.
You can show your gratitude as well when you call the number on your screen right away, or go to helpdav.org today with your monthly gift of only $19. When you do, we'll send you your very own DAV blanket as a symbol of the care you're making possible for veterans.
When you support DAV, you're supporting veterans like me when we need you the most.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right away. Your monthly gift makes a difference in the lives of our veterans, now and into their future.
Selling your home shouldn't be expensive or stressful. At Ideal Agent, we'll connect you with a top local agent that'll sell your home fast for top dollar, and all this for as low as a 2% commission.
Ideal Agent connected me with the best realtor in my market, and I saved $12,500 as a result of it, and I got more than my asking price.
Ideal Agent is available nationwide, there's no obligation, and best of all, our service is completely free. Call today or visit idealagent.com.
Hey, I'm former Navy SEAL Cade Courtley, and out here, I can't afford to be without power. That's why I carry the brand new Alpha Case Elite solar generator from 4 Patriots. An all-in-one solar power station packed inside a covert case. Inspired by advanced military tech, it powers your lights, tools, even your fridge. No gas, no noise. You'll get a solar panel included free. Go to 4patriots.com and get your Alpha Case with a free solar panel now.
Hello, America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored, and it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec,
And so many more.
Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
Here's my note to my family.
The video also shows written statements and several guns painted with slurs. In another clip, the speaker simply reads aloud from a clothes dryer manual.
Dryer safety. Your safety and the safety of others are very important.
Police say they also found a litany of writings.
We're also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings. That content has since been taken down with the assistance of the FBI, and it now remains under active review by our investigators.
Apparently part of the plan that the shooter seemed to illustrate in those same videos on YouTube, a photo of a slab of wood. An actual slab of wood was found at the scene, blocking a door from the outside.
This will be for the emergency exit. Pop it through the hand.
According to social media posts, the shooter's mother worked at the school from 2016 to 2021, and the shooter graduated from the school in 2017. The shooter, now known as 23-year-old Robin Westman, identified as a female and changed their name legally to Robin from Robert in 2020.
Well, he's Robert to us. Okay. You got to stop this. You got to stop this madness about going along with it. If you're going to go along with it, then you're just adding to the madness. Sheila, I want to go back to your theory of the case once again about the psychiatrists, the drugs, the handling of this. Because all we get bombarded with is mental health and mental health professionals when they are part of the problem, if not the problem. Man, why is it hidden from us? And I do want to thank the authorities. Instead of having Michael Patrick Leahy still fight in court to try to get years after the case or try to get the manifesto of the last transgender person that shot up a bunch of tiny children, right? At least they put out the manifesto and other aspects of this yesterday. But what's your theory of the case here dealing with psychiatrists, the big pharma, in the mental health professional community, ma'am?
Well, I believe that they're hiding behind the HIPAA laws. And so HIPAA is supposed to protect children like this little boy. If you look at his little picture of that little boy, the parents sought mental help because they obviously embraced his transition. So the HIPAA laws are to protect the consumer, not to protect the treating psychiatrist. So all this transgender and this psychiatric intervention has to be exposed, because we have to make sure that there's not psychiatric abuse of these children going on within the treatment, which we clearly see throughout these mass killings of children on a cocktail of drugs, like Adam Lanza, who was drugged all the way up through on a cocktail of drugs. And these drugs have never been tested before in humans. This is all drug experiment. So HIPAA is not there to protect the psychiatrists. The FBI and the police are not there to protect the contracts that the government has with these vendors. It is to protect the mental health consumer who is going for mental health treatment. So that's why it's important to open these records up. It's the humane thing to do. In this country today, we do not have human rights in mental health. This is forced treatment, and it is evident throughout the mass killings throughout this country, because a lot of these killers have been mandated onto psychiatric drugs by courts. We have a separate mental health court. So we have an industry that has set up shop within our government, and they refuse to give us any information. And they're also the same industry, by the way, Steve, that collects their own data. So they collect the data on how many kids are on these psych drugs, but they will not release it to the public, which is a crime against humanity. This is a human rights crisis in mental health. This is over-drugging. This is drug repeat, diagnosed with these fraudulent labels that are ever expanding with no science behind them, and then drugging them on a cocktail of drugs. Our organization has been working on this, and we're happy to work with any lawmaker, but the lawmakers are part of the problem. They're covering up for these massive mental health contracts.
Hang on for a second, Sheila. I'm going to go to Brandon Showalter. Brandon, Cat Turd has got up a post. I reposted on Getter. It's got like 8 or 10 of these with Nashville, etc. I don't know if in a row, but pretty close to being in a row of this coming from people undergoing this transgender ideology, these people going through transitions. What's happening here? You've been the guy at the tip of the spear of this. Well, and this one's particularly demonic and vicious. They had this guy had a very sophisticated way how he's going to block the school and basically shoot up all these little kids while they're at mass. So this is on one level, a guy who's really thinking through how he's going to commit mass slaughter, sir.
Yes, Steve, and my heart again goes out to all the families who are enduring these excruciating losses and all the suffering victims. I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, dead children praying, maybe, that we finally reckon with the absolute poison that is gender ideology. And you're correct that there have been a series of these shootings where the shooter has been a gender-confused person. And, we just can't see this and not notice the contributing factor that this is. Because if you're going to tell a lie to a child that he's born in the wrong body, it's going to drive them crazy. Now, can I make the connective loop between this action of meticulous planning of a massacre and this gender confusion? Well, no, I don't want to make the correlation causation fallacy, but it's a trend. As you mentioned there have been a number of shootings, and I can only just imagine just what this does to a child's psychology when you lie to them about something so basic about their bodies, and then you drug them and maybe cut them. I mean, we don't know the full scope of the treatment of this latest shooter, but clearly he was a disturbed and confused individual. But what I'd like to point out, Steve, is that this goes all the way to the top. Yesterday when I was on your show, I pointed out how Mayor Fry pointed out that we need to not hate the trans community in the wake of this. I'm like, in what universe are you going to try and protect somebody who's like this? There's a guy carries out a murder of children, and then you're rushing to defend a group of which he's a part of. Like, I don't understand how in the world that's like your first. That this just goes to show the demonic nature of it. And even this morning, the New York Times, this is the headline: Minneapolis suspect knew her target, but motive is a mystery. That's how deep the lies goes. Our elite media, our political leaders, especially on the left, are completely consumed with these lies, such that they're just completely captured by all of this stuff, and they're rushing to defend. Even as you see a video where this guy has a Jesus head on a target, and he's listing about how much he hates Christians and Jews. I mean, it's like the motive is a mystery. Are you kidding me? I mean, the demonic face of this could not be more apparent.
Okay, I need Grace and Mo. If you get, they've got the video up. He's giggling, he's laughing when he's talking about his victims. He's they've got so many different parts of the video. Then you've got the written part of it too. A cat turd put this up. Denver shooter, trans. Aberdeen shooter, trans. Nashville shooter, trans. Georgia shooter, trans. Philadelphia shooter, trans. Iowa shooter, gender fluid. Uvalde shooter, trans. Colorado shooter, trans. Minnesota shooter, trans. Gosh, I think I see some pattern recognition. And it gets back to Sheila saying this is also about the people that are treating, quote unquote, treating these people. What drugs are they given? What are they doing? What are their mental health records? This is obvious what's going on. And now, and yesterday could have been 100 times worse, right? Except for some heroic action by the folks, and particularly some of the little kids inside, to do some protection. Hang on for a second, Brandon. I want to bring in Joe Allen. Joe, you've also been at this. For a while. I know you come at this from a slightly different angle of attack. How long have you been studying mass killings, Joe Allen?
I did my first in-depth research on mass killings in 1998. Using court documents from the Lily Lid murders in Greene County, Tennessee, and I lost my taste for it in 2015 after the Charleston shooting by Dylan Roof. I spent way more time on this than any normal human being should.
The New York Post has a cover, if we can get that up, and by the way, we're going to go to break and bring everybody back, saying this is demonic. That this guy was part of a satanic cult. That this is very much a work, direct work of Satan through this guy, his body as an instrument. Your thoughts, sir?
In the short time we have, I have to say that that's probably the most accurate headline that we're going to see. But as we go into it, I think looking at this from a historical perspective is not going to be very politically useful.
Okay. We'll drill down on that. We also have John Lott with us, Sheila Matthews from Able Child, Brandon Showalter has been at the tip of the spear fighting this scourge. Transgender ideology is a scourge, and people have made money off this. It's the worst blood money you can have. Absolutely disgusting. New York Times headline, motive unclear. Yo, dude, watch the video. Read his manifesto. And thank God for the authorities for putting it out, that we didn't have to go to court and fight for 2 years, because they don't want the truth out whatsoever. Short commercial break. Return to the war in just a moment.
No matter what you drive, there's only one guarantee. It's gonna break down.
I had a sensor light up on my dashboard.
There was a popping noise.
The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
Your next breakdown could be anytime, anywhere, whether you've got the money to fix it or not.
It was a thermostat, $2,600.
Seat sensor, $1,400.
But if you've got endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a car repair again, no matter how much it cost them to cover it.
In my first year with Endurance, they covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
For Endurance to pay over $7,000 to have my vehicle repaired is phenomenal.
It was like almost a $6,000 job. If I didn't have Endurance, I would have had to pay for that or just trash the whole car and start again.
If your car's out of warranty, a transmission can easily cost you $4,000.
And an engine? Over $7,000, if you're lucky.
With Endurance, those parts are covered, plus hundreds more.
A bad camera unit, $800 to repair a bad wheel bearing, over $1,000. A new steering rack, close to $3,000. Endurance covered it fully.
From engines to water pumps, electronics to key fobs, Endurance has you covered.
Plus, you pick the mechanic you trust to do the work.
It's a totally seamless process going to any certified mechanic. They submit the claim directly to Endurance. They get paid, and I'm out the door.
You trust us to do the work, and we trust Endurance to pay us direct.
And the best part, your rate stays locked in no matter how many claims you file.
After I made my first claim to Endurance, I expected my rate to change, and it never did. I have no complaints.
Endurance has been trusted by millions of Americans for nearly 2 decades.
I've had 2 claims for over $4,600.
Less than 1 year after signing up, Endurance saved me over $7,000.
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's under 20 years old, Endurance has you covered. Plus, your plan includes 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country.
So if your ride breaks down, Endurance has your back. They'll jump your battery, tow, deliver gas, change a flat, unlock your car, and more.
Call now and we'll upgrade you to a full year of elite benefits free, a $2,000 value.
Endurance just gives me that peace of mind, so I do know that every time I'm on the road, I'm covered.
So, who's gonna pay for your next breakdown? You?
Or Endurance.
Endurance saves drivers thousands, and now you can save even more. Right now, you can get $300 off any plan, plus a year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. But you have to act now.
Remember, out of warranty doesn't mean out of options. Call Endurance and see how much you can save.
Call 1-833-496-5095 for a free quote. That's 1-833-496-5095.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Tell Joe to hang around. Okay, let me bring in John Lott. John, you do this for a living professionally. Give me your assessment of yesterday, and particularly the misdirection play. You could have watched television all day, read the New York Times. They never really get to the heart of the matter. And they do this on purpose. They're there to confuse you, and then you have all the, all the armored cars show up. What really ticks me off is when you get there and you got 5,000 SWAT guys, and they're all walking around up armored, and you got the half tracks there and the Humvees with 50 caliber machine guns, everything after that. But we don't get to the part that you need to get to solve this, which is the psychiatrist, this mental health, and now we got the transgenders on a raid shooting. It's deeper than that. You've also got these other kids they misdiagnose. As a professional that does this for a living, what's your assessment of yesterday, and what does this tell us?
Well, I agree with you that there's a real mental health issue here, and particularly with regard to these transgenders. They are massively, compared to their share of the population, engaged in these types of actions, about 7 times more than their share of the population. But, you mentioned the misinformation in the media. I have lots of pet peeves, but one of the main ones is these diaries and manifestos, not just for the murderer yesterday, but time after time after time, explain why they pick the targets that they do. To me, that seems like a very newsworthy piece of information, but yet you will never see the media go through and quote or mention that they pick these targets because they want to go to a place where their victims can't defend themselves. This manifesto that came out explicitly explains that he wants to go to a place where victims aren't able to defend themselves. He calls them what they are, gun-free zones. And he says that he wants to do that because it will make it easier for him to kill more people. And, whether it be the Nashville Covenant School shooter, or whether it be the Buffalo grocery store guy, or going all the way back to Columbine, you see similar types of statements that are there. And so, and it's extremely explicit, but yet the media says, well, we don't know why he picked the target that he did. We know his mom worked at the school, and they try to draw connections like that. But, I just don't understand why they refuse. They just absolutely refuse. Nowhere in the media. I tried doing news searches last night, and even though it's clear as day in his manifesto that he had there, that he picked it because it was a gun-free zone. They refuse to do that. My guess is the whole gun control debate that we have right now would be dramatically different if even once in a while the media would say why they picked the target, because they wanted to go to a place, a soft target where they knew their victims couldn't defend themselves. And once in a while mention, we've had yet another mass public shooting where civilians were banned from being able to go and have guns. These guys may be crazy, but they're not stupid. Their goal is to get media coverage, and they clearly know the more people they kill or harm, the more media coverage that they're going to get. And they know if they go to a place where their victims can't defend themselves, they're going to be able to go and kill more people and get more media coverage.
The reason that the media is not going to cover that is the purpose of the media, and you see it for these ridiculous every night these happen. This is all about trying to make some case to take weapons away from citizens. They want to.
Right.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's almost stupid, right? They were relentless. I want to go back. If you go to these manifestos, and I really want to thank the authorities. I'm sure this is all coming because now you got Kash Patel running the FBI and Pam Bondi as Attorney General, putting the pressure on them that the manifesto was released right away. They're still fighting to get the entire manifesto out of Nashville. Over 2 years afterwards. These manifestos are pretty detailed. I mean, and they talk about their rage. They talk about their hate. They talk about the people they do hate. And they talk about why they were targeted, right? So why isn't this connected together as a body of evidence to show that about the mental health, and particularly these transgenders now are getting even more. Don't get me wrong. The whole thing is horrible about the psychiatric treatment, the misdiagnosis, big pharma putting these kids under drugs, the psychiatrists never being held accountable because they're an accessory to this. They are accessories. Big pharma's an accessory. And in certain situations, the parents are accessories before the fact. But why do they – all the information's right there in the manifestos. Why did they refuse to let these manifestos out and let's connect dots, sir?
Right. Well,